Put a little makeup primer on you. And she doesn't have large pores at all, and we'll just put it where, around the eyes and chin area.
What do you do if you have large pores?
This is good. And then also we have, there are products out there. I have one, pore minimizer, like an astringent. Before you do makeup or in your regimen daily, you can use a pore minimizer astringent, and that'll help out. And microdermabrasions help, but we have to be careful on when you can only do microdermabrasions so long. You can't do them in your 70s because your skin gets thin, blood thinners and that. So you have to be careful, and some peels.
So what could older adults, what could they be doing, Perry, instead of those microdermabrasions? What could they be doing, really to get the best out of them?
I would probably recommend more of an enzyme peel, like a pumpkin peel.
Okay, while Perry's still working on Pat, we're going to join Dr. Scott Kaiser for one of his segments. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Kaiser, board-certified family physician and geriatric medicine specialist, and welcome to The Empowered Patient. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Marjorie Amstu, who has some very helpful tips for us on how to use the emergency room.
Well, I've had good and bad experiences. Not so good with myself when I went in, and had to wait a long time and nearly froze and before they got around to see me.
You know, Marjorie, it's a common story. Having to go to the emergency room and waiting, it's not a happy place.
That's true. So I would suggest you take something along with you to read or keep your mind occupied, because I'm sure you're very upset while you're sitting there waiting, and that will tend to calm you and lower the blood pressure.
That's a great tip. Bring something to relax a little bit, take your mind off of things. Possibly even, as you mentioned, you could bring somebody. If you can have somebody with there for support, it can make all the difference in the world.
And I was lucky, though. I had all my medical information. I had a list of all the medicines I take. And of course, with a family member, you have a certain sense of security. And she did call for other family members who quickly came from other states because they thought I was having a heart attack, and it was pretty severe.
It really is a strange land. All sorts of noise and action going on, and it seems like nobody is paying attention, and there's so much commotion. It really is a strange land.
Well, yes. My daughter always carries a blanket in her car because she travels to work through several miles, so we did have that, thank goodness.
Okay, let's face it, the health system has a lot of problems. I mean, you would think warm blankets wouldn't be that difficult of a thing to come up with. But in the meantime, we have to realize that while we can advocate and we can try and change the healthcare system, we have to start with ourselves, and we have to do everything we can to be prepared. And everything you've been telling us today, you bring a list of your medications, a list that includes your doctor's contact information, family contact information, so that when the doctor and your healthcare team does get in there, you're prepared.
I have a little pad that I carry in my purse all the time, and it has my medical information and the medicines I take, and anything I think is important for the doctor to know, because I do live alone and I travel alone, and so I always have that with me.
You have a whole Cliff Notes to you, a whole cheat sheet field guide that will have your medications, your medical history, your doctor's contact info. That way, when any new nurse or doctor comes in to evaluate your situation, they have something to give a little background information.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
And all the names of my 4 children are all on there with their phone numbers.
Oh,
if you can't get one, get the other one.
Exactly. Well, thank you for bringing this to the attention of any of our viewers, and I hope they're following along and writing these things down. And if they didn't catch that, or if they want to know more, there's wonderful information in this booklet here, Talking with Your Doctor. This is a publication of the National Institute on Aging. That's a federal organization, federally funded. This is based on scientific evidence written by a committee. It's available free and online. You can order it, go right to on the internet and take a look at it right now if you're at home by your computer. If you don't have access to a computer, you can call the 800 number below. Hopefully we'll get that listed below there, and you can call that 800 number and get more information. There's a whole section here on what to do if you find yourself needing to use the emergency room. And I don't think anybody could have told us better than Marjorie here from real life experience.
I am going to take charge of my health.
Welcome to Braille Institute. We are a nonprofit organization. We are here to help people who are blind and visually impaired, people with fading vision. We have many programs and services to offer, and we have programs and seminars and workshops where people can learn almost anything. Why we're here is to show people that they can live a rich, full life and do as many things as other people can do. Right now, we are in our creative arts area. This is where people express themselves. And now I'd like to introduce you to Rhonda. She's one of our wonderful art teachers. Rhonda?
Hello, I'm Rhonda Kapp-Volotsky, and I teach art at the Braille Institute. Many of our students have never done art before, and after they've lost their sight, they end up coming here, and they find a whole new world opening up to them. They have a way to express themselves, and it's actually very therapeutic for them as they're grieving their loss of sight. For instance, this piece right here was done by a man that has never done art before, and he's expressed himself in many materials. He's worked in ceramics, printmaking, tile work, and he says that he believes he lost his sight so he could learn how to do art. So many times when one door closes, another one opens. We have people from all walks of life. I have a student who was a lawyer and never had time for things like art. And a group of visitors came to see what he was doing, and one of them looked down and said, you know, I can't do this and I'm sighted. And he said he couldn't do it either when he was sighted because he never had the time or the opportunity to explore artwork before. So our students have a wonderful time feeling productive again when they do their artwork. We have them choose all the colors, and it keeps their visual memory alive. They have to do all their setup and cleanup, so it helps them with their mobility and the other skills they need to know. Transfers right into their home life from here where they have to wash up. It helps them in the kitchen. And so our art classes are not only enriching for the soul, but they're enrich their lives in so many ways to help them build their skills that they need after they've lost their sight. The students have many opportunities to show their work outside of Braille. We've done shows at the Department of Transportation and at the Department of Aging. We've had a wonderful show at Forest Lawn Gallery and many other galleries that give us opportunity to show the students' work. We also have a wonderful show here in December, and that gives our students a chance to sell their work, and we'd love to invite the public to come in and see what they do. We set up a gallery, and they have their work for sale, and it gives them such an opportunity to feel how productive they are and how they can still contribute to life on the outside of our community. The show we have is called Creative Visions, and you can it's going to be at the first week in December, and you can call us at 1-800-BRAILLE for more information when we set up the times and dates. The creative arts classes are just one of the many opportunities that Braille Institute has for our students that have failing vision. They're able to express themselves in other classes like music and other creative process, and they have classes that they can get back to work. They learn Braille, and they also learn how to work in the kitchen. So the students have many opportunities to get back to work and back to life after coming to Braille. The creative arts classes are one of the many opportunities that the students have at Braille Institute to regain their confidence and opportunities to learn how to live with their vision loss.
In life, some things are pretty much a sure bet. Some things are predictable. And some things you just don't know unless you have ESP, an emergency survival program that prepares you for emergencies or just the plain old unexpected. You can't predict, but you can prepare.
In back of me, and then he gets in front of me. He pushes around, drops everything in front of me. And what a mess. Then I went another room, and then one of the cats got scared. And I waited there, and the lady broke. What a disaster. Oh my God, the dress. No, she's fine. She's sleeping.
Welcome to Braille Institute, a nonprofit organization that has been designed to work with individuals with fading vision. Please come along with us as we explore our Vista store, a store that has many different items and accessories that can support individuals with fading vision. You know, you're having your morning coffee and you like to sit down and read the newspaper, but for some reason the 12-point font is not what it used to be for you. Simple magnification. This happens to be a 35 powered magnifier. You can take it, place it over the article you like to read, and voila, simple technology. Things that enhance individuals with low vision. Now here's another aid that could be of assistance to you possibly in your kitchen or at your computer. You want to read a simple file, you want to read a simple recipe, you plop your information underneath this screen. It's called a closed circuit television or CCTV, and you're able to enhance the font size to exactly what your eyes are asking for. So I'd like to thank you for coming by and visiting our Vista store. You can reach us by calling 1-800-BRAILLE, or that would be 1-800-272-4553, or reach us online at www.brailleinstitute.org.
As you can see, we have so many opportunities here for people with fading vision. You may know somebody who has fading vision, or you yourself may have vision that's not doing so well. Remember, we are here. Come and see us. We are here to help you. Almost all of our students have some vision. Only 10% of people have no vision at all. You could be one of those. Somebody with macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, or even cataracts. All of those are the people that are here. People with those diseases are the people that are here at Braille Institute. So please, come join us. Your life can be very good again.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's see how Perry's doing with her makeovers.
Okay, right now I'm trying to camouflage the puffiness, and using a lighter shadow shade of concealer inside here and then a darker on top will minimize the look of the puffiness.
So lighter in the receding areas and then darker in the areas at the forefront.
Correct. So you're pushing out what's going in, bringing it out, and what's out, you're kind of letting it recede. Okay, and next we'll do her lips. And as you can tell, I kind of put a little bit of foundation over a concealer because she wants a fuller lip, so we're going to make the lips look a little larger. So we're going to draw over, a little over her lip line with a nude pencil.
Yeah, now this is very common for a lot of women, especially as they get older and the lips seem not so full.
Right.
So this technique then, Perry, anybody could really try this and see how it works for them.
Correct, yes.
So starting with a lip pencil below the lip line?
Yeah, you just kind of camouflage it. You can just do a little below.
And would this also help, Perry? I know sometimes, you know, our lipstick will bleed. Does this help with that?
These pencils are really good. They do prevent the bleeding
Okay.
of lipstick, yes.
Yeah. That is an age-old problem.
Right, and you want to stay away from lipsticks that are drying, that stay on, because those really dry your lips, and as you get older, you lose a lot of that moisture. So you don't want to use something real drying.
So you're looking for something, you know, that says actually moisturizing lipstick.
Well, I would go for the lip glosses, and I also like to use, if you ever want a lip primer, you can go to the drugstore and get the moisture chapstick. And then I also, you know, you get the high-end department stores, Kiehl's lip balms, and those are the two I use.
So when would you use those? I mean, is that just something you could put on overnight and just leave on and moisturize your lips?
If like right now, I can use that over the lip. You know, if I was using lipstick, I would use that underneath the lipstick.
Under the lipstick,
yes.
Okay.
Now, should I be using a lipstick or should I be using this little
pencil? I like pencils. It's just that stays on. You're going to get less bleeding, and then you can overdraw your lip line.
So fill in the lips with a lip pencil too?
Yes, you can.
And then just gloss that up with one of these lip glosses. Okay, well, that's a great tip. I didn't know that, so I'm going to be trying that.
And this will help the lips, it'll stay on longer too.
Perry, tell me, you know, a lot of us with our eyesight failing as we get older, it's very difficult to look in the mirror and to be putting the makeup on at the same time. Any tips for that?
Magnifying mirror, and they have, I know that they have them here at the Institute, but yeah, they're definitely a help.
What about matching the lipstick to the clothes?
That's, you know, you would want to complement the makeup. I wouldn't match it to the clothes. You want to stay to earth tones, warm colors, because they're a little more youthful.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's better if you don't go too striking on your lipstick or shadows. I used both Estella and Pat taupe eyeshadows, and I didn't use real bright or light eyeshadows. I kept to medium tones, maybe a contour tone, and a taupe eyeliner is not real prominent like a black or something real striking or charcoal. Taupe is just softer underneath their eyes.
Good for pretty much any skin tone.
Yeah, yes, so both of them could use a taupe color and very easily and wear it. And it looks real natural looking.
It does, it looks lovely.
So
none of these glittery shadows that you see the young girls wearing these days?
No, well, none of these glittery, but, you know, yet I did do, their eyeshadow I used did have a little bit of a gloss, glitter to it, but it's not too much. And for the medium shade, medium tone, you want to make sure that's a very, I was going to say
even
flat.
for the evening?
Even for the evening, yeah. You don't want it to, because what happens is it just, it goes into the creases. It emphasizes the crepiness of the eyelid. And so unfortunately, as we get older, our eyelid tends to crepe more in that area. And you don't want to emphasize that. You want to kind of not draw attention to the...
So, Pat, do you think you've picked up a few tips here that
you
will be using?
Definitely, because I've been doing my makeup the same as I've been doing it for 20 years. And it obviously is not going to work at this age.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the lip tones, lighter lip tones. Stella may have maybe more of a rose color, but you know, her complexion, she can do that, and it's not really super dark. And for Pat, I choose, you know, to go more neutral, but a little bit of color, so it looks nice.
Yeah, really lovely.
What about my eyebrows?
You take one of the brush like this, you brush them up, and you go over the brow line, and then you just snip the ones that are the long ones. And it's really super, you don't have to do real, just a light, and then down.
Maybe this is something you could get done at the hairdressers while you're having your beauty appointment.
Well, they do that. Well, actually, there's special eyebrow people that you would go to, and they have a gal in the Valley and in Beverly Hills that just do eyebrows. So you do have to go to somebody who really knows how to shape them. And also, I would, instead of waxing seniors, because waxing can tear the skin if they're on blood thinners, so I would probably, you know, be more to threading eyebrows than I would do waxing.
Well, what do you think?
Perry has done a wonderful job. You look absolutely beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks so much, Perry, for joining us today. I'm sure the ladies have enjoyed it as much as I have. We've certainly learnt some tips, haven't we?
Definitely.
Viewers, we're going out on the town tonight. We're all looking our best now, so I hope you've learned something as well today. We're looking forward to seeing you next time on Aging Well in LA.
Después de que ocurre un desastre, tal vez no le sea posible confiar en lo que ya conoce de su hogar. Tal vez tampoco pueda confiar en su perro Lazarillo. Lazarillo podría estar lesionado, atemorizado, confundido, nervioso o desorientado. Esté preparado para calmar a su perro y mantenerlo apartado y atado con la correa o arnés. Si usa bastón, recuerde tenerlo a la mano para que le ayude a lidiar con situaciones peligrosas y con obstáculos. Mantenga uno cerca de su cama y de todas las salidas, así como también una correa extra para el perro. Asegúrese de que su perro tenga el microchip y de que su licencia y placa de identificación tengan información vigente. Los perros lazarillos pueden acompañarle a un albergue de emergencias. Así como usted necesita un kit de emergencia, necesita tener uno para su perro. Asegúrese de tener suficiente agua, alimentos, cualquier medicina que puedan requerir y un botiquín de primeros auxilios. Una colcha o tapete y un juguete favorito pueden ayudarlo a calmarlo también. Tenga listo el nombre y número de teléfono del veterinario en el kit. Es posible que le exijan el récord de vacunación. Solo usted sabe qué lo puede preparar y ayudar tanto a usted como a su familia en caso de un desastre. ¿Está usted preparado? Para mayor información, por favor, comuníquese con el Departamento de Discapacidad o el Departamento de Administración de Emergencias del Ayuntamiento de Los Ángeles al llamar a los números en pantalla o al 311.
Christy Odom in Los Feliz. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Would you like a mustache with that?
Good morning, Los Angeles. This is Los Angeles City Council. It is Friday, November 18th. I'm Councilmember Zine. We are waiting the arrival of the quorum. We have Mr. Weezar here, Mr. Labange, Mr. Wesson. I'm Councilmember Zine, and we are waiting for the quorum. We'll begin with our presentations. Again, we're looking for Mr. Englander, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Parks, Mr. Rosendahl. Please come to chambers so we begin our meeting for Friday, November 18th. There are 6 presentations this morning as we assemble in council chambers. So we will do standby until we get our quorum. Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Parks has arrived. If anyone's ready for presentations, we can begin. Mr. Krikorian has arrived. Good morning, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Garcetti, good morning, sir. If any council members ready for presentations, we have 6 today. Anyone's ready to go? Mr. Wesson, you ready? You have 2 presentations. You ready for either one? Mr. Rosendahl, are you ready for presentation? We're ready to go. Mr. Labange, you ready, Mr. Labange? All right, here we go, Mr. Labange, our first presentation for today, ladies and gentlemen, in the chambers.
Yeah, roll the clip.
Mr. Labange.
Roll the clip, Kenny. Roll the clip.
Roll the clip.
Here we go, Tommy Bailey.
Yes.
Give me that.
This is Carol Coombs. She played my sister.
Why she keep playing that?
That's it.
I have to practice it for the party tonight, Daddy. Mom said we could stay up till midnight and sing Christmas carols. Can you sing, Daddy? Better hurry and shave. Excuse me! Excuse me! Excuse me! Excuse me!
Excuse you for what?
I burped. Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
Mr. President, I'm honored to be here. And, you know, we share Hollywood together, and the great folks at Paramount said we can't let this day go by. This day is important. The great folks at Paramount are doing great things to make sure that every public library, over 70 libraries, has a copy of this DVD and Blu-ray for It's a Wonderful Life, one of the great movies of all time. Let's hear it for It's a Wonderful Life. Now, there's no question, Mr. Rosendahl, there's no question we need more George Baileys than we do Mr. Potters around.
That's right.
Especially what's going on in the world. But right here is little Jimmy Hawkins, who played Tommy Bailey. Let's give Tommy a big hand. And this is Carol Coons, who played Janie Bailey. Give her a big hand.
And she promises not to play the piano.
She won't play the piano. That's okay. I just want to hear the bells ring so another angel is born, because that's what the City of Angels is all about. We're here today to honor the film for its 65th anniversary, a very special event that it is, and honor two Angelinos who played in the picture, which is so important. And remember the great late Donna Reed, who was everybody's mom, but also so special in that role, and Jimmy Stewart, one of the greatest of all.
Yes.
One of the greatest of all. Let's hear it for the late, great Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed. So with this presentation today on the 3rd of December, in honor of the film's release, which was at a time in 1946, post-war, there was some cost overruns, they said in the picture, but it's one of the most looked at films of any film in all times. Right. But I'm going to call out right now little Tommy Bailey, who wants the microphone more than I. Let's hear it for Jimmy Hawkins. I love it, Tommy.
Tom. Thank you. We want to thank everybody here, and especially Tom LaBonge. He is really, we passed the ball to him, and he ran down that field just like he did at Marshall High School many times for a touchdown. And he did this all for Frank Capra, and it was Frank Capra's movie all the way. And we were just a small part of the film, being the Bailey family, but we kind of being the youngest of them all, we've been passed the baton, and we're carrying on Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. And we appreciate everything Tom LaBonge has done and the City Council of celebrating the 65th anniversary of this wonderful picture. It was voted the most inspirational movie of all time by the American Film Institute, and we're just proud to be a part of it and to be carrying on its legacy. And the questions most people ask of us is, how was Jimmy Stewart? And well, Carol and I have talked many times that he's a wonderful person and a wonderful guy. He was always there to the end for us, and it was a pleasure to be able to work with him and Donna Reed and Frank Capra. And thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And just a point of information, Mr. LaBonge.
Yes.
You were a center, weren't you?
Well, I know. I was
So were you running the ball into the end zone? Because if so,
High
that was an illegal carry.
was against Franklin. Herbie, when I carried the ball, I carried it 85 yards. Franklin, the other way, and I got tackled and I didn't score. But we later scored against Franklin.
Right.
Mike Hernandez.
Just wanted to clarify.
He carried the ball.
I did carry the ball, but we carried the ball today for It's a Wonderful Life. But who really carries the ball is Paramount Pictures with this gift to all our libraries. Representing Paramount Pictures is their Vice President of Government Affairs, a tremendous friend to all. Please welcome Sharon Kaiser.
Thank you. Hi, we're just really happy to be here. Thank you, Tom, and pleased to help celebrate this. We are happy to present a copy for each of the libraries, and we've provided a copy for each of you all here as we do this re-release. And thank you for this attention to the great entertainment industry of Los Angeles, and we're glad to be a part of it.
Oh, sure. Thank you very much. Representing our librarian, Mr. Gomez, here is a very special assistant librarian who, I want to say it correctly.
Giovanna Menino.
Giovanna Menino. Thank you, Giovanna, because librarians are so important, and there's a gift that's coming to the library department.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the library department, we are just thrilled and deeply appreciative that Paramount Home Media would consider donating to the library as a way to celebrate the 65th anniversary of this most beloved film, It's a Wonderful Life. More than ever, folks are flocking to our libraries for entertainment as well as information, and I can't think of a finer film to offer our libraries. It'll offer them this film to a whole new audience as well as to those who are who love to watch this film year after year. So thank you so much, and thank you for your support, and especially to Councilmember Tom LaBonge.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And Sharon, tell us who's your colleagues from Paramount.
I'm so sorry. From Home Media, Brenda Ciccone, John Kim, and Deborah Thompson.
Good job, Sharon. And I know if we could put a wish list for the future, I think Chinatown was a Paramount picture, and I know DWP has some questions.
And it was filmed right here. It was filmed in these chambers.
Right here. So it's all there. Let's hear it for It's a Wonderful Life.
Thank you.
Throw it up.
Thank you.
Throw it up. We'll take
Brought a
pictures.
gift for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. And next, I'd like to recognize for our next presentation, we have actually two presentations, Councilmember Bill Rosendahl.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good. Thank you. You can see. We'll go this way. I'll pull that out of the way for you.
While he's coming up, let's call the roll, please.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Englander, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, LaBonge, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Weston, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Wesson moves and Mr. Park seconds. Without objection, they'll be approved. Next order of business.
Committee resolutions for approval.
Mr. Weezer moves and Mr. Koretz seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. Colleagues, why don't we just run through the agenda real briefly, and then Mr. Rosendahl will give a presentation after that. But if we can take up the first items, please.
Items 1 through 7 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call any of those items special? Yes, Mr. Weezer?
2 and 5, please.
All right. Other specials? If not, let's go ahead and please open the roll on the balance, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 8 through 11 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
If there's no objection to consideration, those are before us, and we have cards on 9 and 11. We'll call those special for cards from the public and close the other hearings. Anybody wishing to call 8 or 10 special? Number 8 or 10? Yes, Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we continue number 1, please, until...
We'll have to reconsider it just real quick. Let me come back to that. What date do you want to continue it to? For 1 week or how long?
Until the 29th.
Okay. Let me come back to that in just one moment. Anybody wishing to call 8 and 10 special?
Why?
If not, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
All right. That is approved. Next item is closed session. Mr. Parks, I think we'll take that into closed session, correct? Number 12? Okay. And then if we can go to the next set after that.
On the continuation agenda, items 13 through 15 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call 13 through 15 special? Yes, Mr. Parks?
There's some information.
Okay, we'll hold those for Mr. Parks. Next items.
All of them. Items 16 through 18 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
All right, if there's no objection, those are before us. We'll call 17 special for a card from the public. Anybody wishing to call 16 or 18 special?
16, we're waiting for some information from Animal Services.
All right, Mr. Parks, we'll call 16 special. And that leaves Mr. Rosendahl, number 18, which is actually declaring Argonaut Day. So do you want us to pass it before you give the presentation? All right, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
It is approved. And with that, Mr. Rosendahl, the presentation is yours. That's a perfect intro.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I will applaud for the Argonaut for the next 40 years. This is the 40th anniversary of the Argonaut. Now, what is the Argonaut? Here it is, folks. It is a newspaper, and it has been around for 40 years. 80,000 people on the West Side read this every week. Over 45,000 circulation for it. It's amazing. It covers the areas of Westchester, Playa del Rey, LAX issues, Palms, Delray, Mar Vista, Venice, and Santa Monica. And so it covers a substantial amount of the district. And what's best about it, some of you might have remembered that I did a public affairs show. I did 3,000 of them over 16 years, where people finished their sentences and their thoughts and had interesting discussions. You didn't just go to a commercial every 90 seconds, like unfortunately a lot of television does. today. So what picked it up was this local newspaper. It is connected to every issue that goes on in the district. My constituents and I, every week we get it and we look at a story on this and a story on that, and they continue the stories week after week. It's true journalism, true print journalism. And it has empowered the people on the West Side as television has been more of a regional thing, lead-to lead, soundbite journalism, that kind of thing. Radio, of course, covers a bigger area. The LA Times and the other newspapers can only do a second or two on very local areas. So this paper has filled that gap for many, many years. And so it's an honor for me to honor, and colleagues, thank you for your support, of creating an Argonaut Day to celebrate their 40th anniversary. Arlene Ruiz is here, who is the publisher of it, and I had the pleasure a year ago with your Carol, who was the publisher then, to perform their wedding when it was legal for us people to get married with our basic civil and human rights. And Vince Echeverra, who is the editor, who is also a journalist and writes stuff himself, and Gary Walker, who's one of those incredible journalists out there. So I want to present this to them and let them just make a comment or two about it. And here it is from all of us to them. Congratulations.
Thank you. Sweetheart.
Thank you, Councilman Rosendahl. And ever since Councilman Rosendahl has been in office, he's been nothing but readily accessible to us, willing to offer us a comment on any story we put his way. And he's one of the best promoters of the Argonaut out there, always pointing us out at the many meetings that he attends on behalf of the 11th District. So thank you, Councilman Rosendahl. And thank you, distinguished city council members, for recognizing us on our 40th anniversary at the Argonaut. It's a real privilege for us to be here today with you at the City Hall. Even though our coverage doesn't reach out to the City Hall area, we are constantly keeping track of the news coming out of here and how it impacts our local West Side communities. And we hope the stories that we are covering are reaching out to you here at the city level, so you're aware of the great work that our communities are doing out there. Just 2 weeks ago, we held an event in Marina del Rey commemorating our 40th anniversary at the Argonaut, which was founded on November 25th, 1971. We started originally covering the Marina del Rey area, but have since expanded to cover 7 additional communities in the West Side. And we are at heart a community newspaper, and that's who we are dedicated to covering. And I believe we have continued to fulfill that mission of community service beyond the passing of our founder, the late David Asper Johnson, and our previous editor and publisher, Carol Hector. I frequently hear from people how much they love our paper and how much they've been reading it over the years. And like many newspapers, we have had our times of struggle, but despite the changes in the industry, I think there will always be a need for community papers like ours. So thanks again for this distinguished honor.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Council, for this wonderful honor. In the news business, we recognize the importance of local government and the impact it has on your many constituents' lives. I've had the pleasure of interviewing probably half of you, and so I'd like to thank you personally for your contributions to the important matters of your constituents of this city. And I'd like to offer special thanks to Councilman Rosendahl. I have an added benefit, besides being a reporter who interviews him frequently, of being a constituent. And I can tell you that he has been so available and so accessible to us day and night, weekends and weekdays, and he's always ready to respond to our inquiries, whether it's on upbeat topics or even more challenging topics, which predominate, it seems, throughout the 11th District. So once again, I'd like to thank you very, very much for this wonderful honor, and it's been a pleasure addressing you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and congratulations from all of us. It's a great community paper in Los Angeles. Next, we will go to Council District 12, and Mr. Englander to give the next presentation. Mr. Englander? Mr. Englander? You're up.
Just sort of gather around.
We're riding Sunday morning, 9 o'clock.
Oh, are you? I'll be in Vegas.
You stand in front of me, though.
I bring with me an army of attorneys and litigators. Police Litigation Unit, LA City Attorney's Office. This unit was formed October 28th, 1991, by then Chief of Police Daryl Gates and our city attorney at the time, Jim Hahn, in order to defend the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department involved in civil litigation arising from police incidents. The unit was developed as a unique partnership with LAPD, creating a first-class investigative support team that defends police litigation cases. There are 14 deputy city attorneys, 14 secretaries, 2 paralegals assigned to the Police Litigation Unit. The Police Litigation Unit is marking 20 years of excellence. Productive partnerships with the LAPD in providing legal support for our men and women of the police department. On average, the Police Litigation Unit carries a caseload of up to 200 civil cases at any given time and has represented thousands of police officers over the past 20 years in these cases and lawsuits. The unit has tracked records of winning 84% of all their trial cases and has saved the taxpayers of Los Angeles millions of dollars over the last 20 years. They are one of the leading litigation units in the nation, and they set the standard of legal services for law enforcement in America. On behalf of the City of Los Angeles, we congratulate the Police Litigation Unit for 20 years of service in the City Attorney's Office and commend their hard work and dedication to the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department and the people of the City of Los Angeles. Supervising Assistant City Attorney Corey Benty. Corey M. Benty is the supervising Brenty, for the Police Litigation Unit in the City of Los Angeles Attorney's Office and celebrates his 20th year with this unit. He's the only one who's been there since the unit was founded. Now get this. Corey has personally tried over 30 police litigation cases and has never lost a single case. That deserves applause. That's incredible. He's an esteemed member of the Tactics Training Review Committee and has provided valuable legal expertise on best practices in tactics, firearms, use of force policy, and training for the curriculum for the training recruits and in the service police officers. Corey is founding member of the Professional Resources for Officers Assistants in Civil Trial and has been a keynote speaker for the litigation overview presentation for the past 14 years. He is one of the featured attorneys for the Elite Metropolitan Division, D Platoon, and regularly provides specialized legal training in crowd control and crises negotiation. Corey has handled civil litigation cases involving the LAPD for the Los Angeles Police Department Special Investigation Section since 1992. He is an honorary team member of the Special Investigation Section, regularly participates in training days conducted at Camp Pendleton Marine Corps. We congratulate Supervising Assistant City Attorney Corey Brenty for 20 years of service with the litigation unit and commend his hard work. Melinda Crow. We are congratulating Melinda today for 20 years of dedicated service in the City Attorney's Police Litigation Unit in partnership with the LAPD and her hard work and commitment to the duties that have been immeasurable value to the City Attorney's Office and to LAPD as well. And then joining me are several members of the City Attorney's Office, including the City Attorney, who I'd like to turn it over to, our very own Carmen Trutanich.
I'm going to defer to the heavy hitters first. Corey?
Well, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I thank you all so very much Thank you, Councilmember Englander and Councilmember Zine, who I know also did a resolution. The first thing I want to do is to acknowledge all of the city attorneys in the police litigation unit. They are, without a doubt, the hardest working lawyers in the city attorney's office. I think of them as the SWAT team or the SIS of our office. They are amazing, and they are alphabetically Michael Amarian, Richard Arias, Nick Dana, Christian Bajorquez, Beth Fitzgerald, Kelly Cadis, Craig Miller, Denise Mills, Liz Mitchell, Sareka Pessis, Jeff Plowden, Rena Shahunde, Wendy Shapiro, and Colleen Smith. Let's give them a hand. We also have 2 ace paralegals who work with us and are a tremendous value to us, Sonia Garcia and Daniel Lench. And our support staff. We have a phenomenal support staff in the police litigation unit, and we could not get the results that we've gotten without an incredible and dedicated support staff. And they are Margot Avazan, Caroline Castillo, Linda Covarrubias, Melinda Crow, Maria Cruz, Fernando Diaz, Eva Farlow Marble, Kathy Finan, Kelly Heaton, Nina Lee, Ruth Parkhurst, Anna Wander, and Stephanie Sullivan, our support staff supervisor. I also want to thank the LAPD, who is an incredible partner of ours, who works with us on a daily basis. That we couldn't get the results we do without the unwavering support of the LAPD. In particular, our closest partners at Risk Management Division, Captain Phil Trotter and Lieutenant Doug Wade, Ephraim Baeza, Greg Smith, who helped put this together, Ken Tran, Michelle Chow, all of our investigators. The LAPD is a true partner of ours, and we could not do it without them. So a round of applause for all of them. I also want to thank the Los Angeles Police Protective League, who is a huge supporter of the police litigation unit. We represent and defend their members, and the league has regularly supported our unit and told us how much they appreciate what their members do, particularly the president, Paul Weber, who told me he would go to war to save the police litigation unit, Tyler Eisen, an incredible friend and a board member on the Police Protective League, Pete Reprovich, Christy Sandoval, and the other board members of the police, Los Angeles Police Protective League. So let's give them a hand. Now, with my last minute or so, I want to do something, and I want to acknowledge one particular person here today. So I'd like her to come up. Diane Shim. Where's Diane Shim? Now, I want to introduce you all to Diane. Come here, Diane. This is Diane Shim. She's a lawyer, and she's been volunteering full-time in the police litigation unit for almost 2.5 years. She comes to work every day. She works nights and weekends for free to help us defend Los Angeles police officers, and saved us thousands, if not millions of dollars of all the hard work she's done for Los Angeles police officers. So we have a plaque we'd like to present to Diane, and it says, Police Litigation Unit, Los Angeles City Attorney, Diane Shim, in recognition and appreciation of your commitment, dedication, and selfless efforts on behalf of the men and the women of Los Angeles Police Department, November 2011. And there's a quote at the bottom from William James, act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. And what Diane does make a difference. And lastly, of course, the support we get from our city attorney and Gary Geis, Pete Echeverria, and Bill Carter, all the support they give the deputies in our unit. We're all very grateful, and this is a tremendous group of lawyers and support staff. You couldn't get a better group if you planned it.
Thank you again. Congratulations. I've also got some certificates, resolutions on behalf of the City of Los Angeles to present, but before we do that, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to our City Attorney.
Good morning, Council.
Morning.
Mr. President. What you see here behind me is what's right about the employees of the City of Los Angeles. There are about 10,000 cops, 9,600 or so. There are 14 lawyers in this unit that defend them, one of them working for free. When I took office, we had 647 lawyers in the City Attorney's Office. We're down to 500. When I took office, there were no furloughs. Today, these lawyers who are defending the city, in the last 3 years, they saved over $83 million for the citizens of the city, are furloughed 36 days a month. They're doing the work that they're doing part-time. It's a shame. We can be doing so much more if we had the staff, and we could be trying more cases, doing a better job for the city. These lawyers work their tail off. They have my undying respect. They're here on Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sundays. They're great. And everyone in the city, and I'm sure hoping that Channel 35 is watching, they ought to be very, very proud of the PLU for one, because they're the SWAT team. They're busy as hell. But I can tell you this, every single lawyer in our civil litigation unit is cranking hard because we're understaffed and we're only working part-time. We need to get back to full-time, and we need to get back to a full staff so we can do a real good job for this city. Guys, I can't say thank you enough for what you do for the City of Los Angeles and how good you make me look by your hard work. I do nothing, they do it all. Thank you very much.
Mr. Zine, like to add his wishes?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. City Attorney, Corey, I remember when I was with the Los Angeles Police Protective League, I wrote an article in the Blue Line about the civil litigation unit and how you weren't defending officers, and you called me and chewed me out. And you chewed me out righteous because I was not aware of what dedication there was within the civil branch and the civil litigation and how much you folks defended the members of the Los Angeles Police Department for doing the job of protecting and serving. So it really opened my eyes. And Carmen Trutanich, our city attorney, who's led with that saber moving forward to save the taxpayers' money. And I just received this morning police litigation unit trial results. This is from January through November 2011. Total trials 18, defense verdicts, and we're the ones who are defending 16 out of 18. There's only 2 cases that you didn't prevail. That's phenomenal. $34 million savings that could have been going out to people who were suing for activities by our members of our Los Angeles Police Department. So I want to acknowledge you. And when you can get a lady to come in and work 2 years for free, that's phenomenal. And I know the dedication with the City Attorney's Office, because Carmen Trutanich, who I refer to as Nooch, works tirelessly, and the dedicated members of that office work tirelessly. The public doesn't realize how much effort is done in that office. And I still remember, I think the lady standing next to you, Nooch, it was the lady who was handling a trial where an officer got shot. And I'll still remember the case when you ran over here to City Hall and we ran over to the courthouse as that verdict was read. And it was phenomenal how you defended the actions of the Los Angeles police officer. This man could have been killed, and what you did to save the city millions of dollars in that particular case. I still remember that day, but we ran over to the courthouse. It was exciting to see that verdict come out, another unanimous verdict. So congratulations to you, well earned, and you got a great team behind you. My good colleague, who's also a reserve officer, Mitch Englander, to bring this forward to recognize. But Corey, to you and your folks, you, dedication to the public, dedication to the Los Angeles Police Department, dedication for justice in this great city of the Angels. So congratulations to all of you. Nooch, thank you for bringing it forward. Mitch, thank you. Yeah.
2 cases that you mentioned, that were 16 of 18. The 16 cases were defense verdicts. The 2 cases that were plaintiff verdicts were favorable. They were under the last demand that was made by counsel to settle. These guys are hardball hitters.
They definitely are. And I know that Chief Hara, I think Terry Hara is still here. Why don't you step on inside, show some stars over here. we have the Assistant Chief from Los Angeles Police Department, Phil Trotter, the League, Commander Maislin, who are all partners in this endeavor to show respect for this particular section. The City Attorney's Office doing a great job. So I just want to acknowledge the Police Department representative here, and also Tyler from the Police Protective League, all showing support for Corey, you and your team under the guidance of our great City Attorney. So,
Thank you, Mr. Zime.
Great. I'm not done.
No, you are over.
Well, I am done.
Mr. Reyes is our next speaker.
You
Thank
are the
Mr.
president
Zime.
today.
That's right. Mr. Reyes.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you to the attorneys. As a staff person for 10 years, before a council member, I understand that we as staff, what we go through. When all this turbulence is happening up here, we have to keep the daily progress in a certain pace. We need to meet our objectives, our goals, no matter how many cuts we have or what the political scenario is for that moment. You got to keep pushing forward. And for that, I thank you. I see it in our land use attorneys. And we got to get to a place in the city where we understand how we generate revenue and how we prevent from losing revenue. And you play a critical role in that. I just want to acknowledge your sacrifices and thank you for your hard work. All the men and women who are behind the scenes with the lights on late at night, in the weekends. Thank you so much.
Mr. Labange.
There's 412 columns in City Hall, and underneath the basement of City Hall, it's almost like a cushion in case there's an earthquake and the building will not fall down and collapse. You are the strength of the city as attorneys. In your diligent work, the volunteer work of those who help the city attorney's office, and Carmen Tatanich, the great work that you do. And I see Pete Echeverria, I can't leave Peter out, and all of them, Mr. Carter, everybody. This is very nice that we're all here to honor you. But if you realize, because when you do, I don't want to call it paperwork, but it's different. They don't see it as much as you see the new bridges or restored the old bridges or the parks or the buildings. You're the infrastructure of the city, and I thank you very much for holding us up. Thank you, Mr. Tatanich.
Thank you. Mr. Weezer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to add my voice of thank you to all of you, because after all, we as a council get to see the settlements when the ones that we do have to pay out, and our city attorney is doing a great job of lessening the ones we do see. But thanks to your work, we don't see a lot of those come to us, and that is something that we should all be thankful for. So thank you so much. You guys are the ones that a lot of times when we think about the right things that are going in the city and the hardworking people in the city, you're the faces today for all the city of LA to see. And yes, Mr. City Attorney, this is being watched on Channel 35, and these are the faces of the hardworking people in the City Attorney's office that save us millions of dollars. And also, when people look to the city because we're the deep pockets and think they could come to us and get that free money, you're stopping from people doing some scrupulous things. Thank you so much.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, you have an extremely sensitive and challenging job. There's always controversy over issues, and people sometimes don't understand what's going on. Saving money is a good thing, but it's even more than that. It's knowing what's the real issue in a given case, who is right and who is wrong, because these are serious cases. So the work you do in your due diligence, in your homework, that separates truth from fiction, emotions from reality, is very important. It's the most important aspect. Saving money is the byproduct of good intelligence, good professionalism. But the sensitivity to the issue, which is of key concern to all of us, I applaud you, and I also thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Englander.
So in closing, we're going to bring them into the back. We've got some certificates and resolutions, one for Corey, one for Melinda, one for the entire unit, for the very people who defend and protect the people who defend and protect us. So if we can say congratulations one more time. Thank you very much, council members as well.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you, everybody, for your great work. And with that, we'll go to Herb Wesson from the Council District 10 for a presentation of a very furry friend.
Good morning. What do you have on?
He's all right?
I said, what does she have on?
That's a scoop peep, I guess. Purple rain.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Mr. Wesson, please.
if you don't mind, I'd like to wait just a moment.
Sure. If I could, we could ask folks just to take the conversation.
Oh, no, they're fine. We're just, for everything that they do for us, we can wait a minute.
All right. We will pause.
Is she not as cute as she can be? Again, thank you, Mr. President and members. As many of you know, Mr. Koretz and myself, at least twice a month, we try to bring in wonderful dogs and cats that are in the shelters that we as a city run. And so for me, this is another Pet Adoption Friday. I have with me a beautiful, classy little lady, and her name is Jackie O. And Jackie is looking for a home. She is 3 years old. Wait, let's see if we can get you. Look at that face. She's looking for a home, and if you ever would love to have a companion animal that will always be there for you when you need it, I can't think of a better one than this little 3-year-old Chihuahua mix that is very good around people, children, and other animals. She is at a discounted rate for only $83.50. And upon adoption, she'll be given her microchips and shots and whatever else that she needs. This is something that I truly enjoy doing, you know, matching people with pets. But I urge you, we have so many animals in our shelters, and we're not getting them adopted fast enough. So every time or any time you adopt a pet, you quite possibly are saving that pet's life. We've been fortunate here at the City of Los Angeles to have a 100% adoption rate. And the majority of the dogs that we get adopted through the program that I've sponsored are adopted by members of the city family or individuals that are in the audience with us today. So we're going to have Jackie O in the back for a little longer. If you're watching this on TV, call. If you're listening to this, call, and we will keep her here until you can arrive. If by chance she doesn't get adopted, please call the number on the screen, 888-452-7381. It is important that we keep our 100% adoption rate record, because I am in serious competition with the County of Los Angeles, and we do not want the county to one-up us. So anyway, here's Jackie O looking for a home, and she's got this little funny-looking purple thing. I'll throw that in, too, so you get to keep her clothes. But anyway, Mr. President and members, thank you very much. And somebody, save this dog's life. Save her life. Give her a home. And make your own self happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wesson. With that, let's go ahead and go to the general public comment section of our meeting. And we have a number of cards here today. Our first speaker is Mark Lippman. After that will be Antonia Ramirez. Good morning.
Good morning. Mark Lippman with Occupy Los Angeles. Many of you are probably aware of the mass arrest that took place yesterday at Bank of America. I'm proud to say that I am one of the political prisoners that was taken into custody yesterday for standing up, exercising our First Amendment rights. One police action you may not have heard about yesterday took place on Broadway on way to that march, where a group who were peacefully marching were told to get, a few people were on the streets, they were told to move onto the sidewalks. Everyone moved onto the sidewalks. At that point, with everyone on the sidewalks, the police moved in force, in riot gear, and cordoned off people on the sidewalk, arrested and roughed up several people, took into custody, intimidated, used excessive force on peaceful protesters on the sidewalk. When asked, the sergeant in charge said that the order came directly from Chief Beck. We have that on tape. And I think this exemplifies a major problem we're having with the city, that something like this is tolerated and condoned, and this excessive force must be investigated. Another issue I'd like to bring up is that we've been here for 6.5 weeks now. At first, you're saying you support us. Then there's talk about timeline for eviction, but you miss a central point in what's happening here. We have given a list of 23 grievances. According to the First Amendment, that's our duty. You have failed to answer our grievances. If you want us off the lawn, do your job and respond to our grievances. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lippman. Our next speaker is Antonio Ramirez. After that will be Laser Stephen Haas.
Good morning. If your LA City attorneys were as good as council member and chair of public safety alleges Mitchell Englander and his assistant Doug, for we know that they are pandering and trying to score re-election points, then we would not have an epidemic in criminal illegal aliens and gangbanging infestations. Again, Mitchell Englander and Doug are contradictory. They will censor those of us who are doing our jobs and doing your city's jobs, combating this criminal empire and the kingpins and the drug trafficking, along with a series of crimes. Again, you are nothing more than a bunch of hypocrites. I would not re-elect any of you, Englander and the Latino politicos. Zine, you're borderline. Having said that, please take notice that the deputies in East LA, sheriff's deputies, they are racist, they have corrupted the badge, and they are in cahoots and in collusion with gangbangers and criminal aliens in East LA. They are Deputy Cruz, Aguirre, Henry Romero, Daniel Lopez, Lomeli, Pedro Mejia, Valencia, Duran, female Sandoval, female Parra, Pacheco, Martinez, Jay Murillo, Detective Hector Andujo, and George Bernal. Again, I take great pleasure in doing your jobs. I am adamant about going after these gangbangers and criminal illegal aliens. I'm not here to pander them. I don't want nothing from them, but I do want to restore America and give to the military veterans and all pilots what they are rightfully due, along with law-abiding citizens. I ain't your wetback. I didn't swim the Rio Grande, but I follow the letter of the law. Since I came to this country with the approval of the Department of Justice, and I followed the letter of the law only to end up in jail, falsely arrested, and end up being censored by a bunch of pudwacks. So having said that, with the exception of Garcetti and Rosendahl, I thank you very much. But I want to say again, I love America. I want to restore America and bring back class, elegance, and restoration of the beautiful homes and people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Laser Stephen Haas. After that is going to be Cheryl Eichley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to tell you that Occupy Wall Street is not about the 1% making money. It's about those who do it by illegal means. We are here at Occupy LA and around the world to turn around and protest against illegitimate efforts to turn around and profit. Venerated persons such as the president of this committee's family provide legitimate profit means, providing us all with great value. But you must be made aware and often reminded of the underlying social contract. Your goods and services are transported on the roads that this homeless man paid for. Your employees and managers were educated at the schools that many of us paid for with real estate taxes, and we are now illegally evicted from our homes. The public masses sweated, slaved, and sacrificed themselves on the altar of freedom that you may expect peaceful enjoyment by clean water, chemically free, and the police protection that we are proud to pay for. So I ask you, venerated ladies and gentlemen, don't stand by idle when people like Goldman Sachs stole 1,000 jobs from the city of Los Angeles. Their attorneys confessed in federal court that they lied about taking e-toys away, and the Department of Justice did nothing about it. Bain, that is owned by Mitt Romney, turned around and stole e-toys, and their attorneys confessed 34 false affidavits, and the Department of Justice not only refused to investigate and prosecute it, but the U.S. Attorney in Delaware was a partner in the Goldman Sachs law firm and didn't disclose it. When I reported it out here to Los Angeles, the U.S. Attorney here shut down the Public Corruption Task Force and said the reason he did it was there was no public corruption cases to prosecute. Please do something about this and don't stand idle. It's your responsibility as much as ours. Thank you.
Cheryl Ackley, followed by Jason Major.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Eichley. I'm a resident in District 4. I see my councilman is a little distracted at the moment. I was also looking for Rosenthal and Garcetti. The last time I came and spoke to you, I'm a member of Occupy Los Angeles, and I'm speaking on my own behalf because as an organization, we only make statements and decisions through a consensus process, through our General Assembly. So the last time you saw me speak, oh, there's Mr. Rosenthal, hi. The last time you heard me speak, I was very concerned about an incident with a particular police officer, Officer Park, and I need some help to look into some misconduct that has been told to me about Mr. Park, the Officer Park. It's my understanding that there are occupiers who are being illegally detained, taken away from the site, threatened. If they come back, they will be booked. I would really like an investigation into these allegations and to be able to see the maybe dash cams or the officers' logs or any other documents from the LAPD that would help us understand if there is a officer who is acting outside of his duties and abusing his power. As far as I know, there's about 4 officers that were included in one incident that was told to me, and then since I saw you on Tuesday, 2 more incidents have been reported to me. These people are afraid to come forward because this officer in question had drawn his weapon and chased after an occupier. So I'm really concerned about some very specific individuals who may be taking actions that are against the police officer or the captain's request and would like to look into this. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your guys' continued support of what we're doing. Oh, there's Garcetti. Okay. Hi. I appreciate your guys' support in our First Amendment right and all that you have done for us. Can we please work together to address these issues? Thank you.
Jason Major, followed by Arnold Sachs.
Good morning, distinguished council members. My name is Jason Major, and I reside in the 8th District, in which Councilman Parks oversees and represents. The top and title of my speech is The Price of Civic Duty. I'm here today to call attention to the growing problem of witness protection in the city and the lack of funding for it. November 8th, 2011, Tyquan Knox was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of a witness against him in an upcoming robbery trial. Okay. Pamela Lark, Javad Marshall Fields, Stephen Curtis, Franklin Magnuson, Jimmy Roberts, Karen Clark, and her 8-year-old son, Leroy Brown Jr. These are names that you may not have heard before, but these are just the names of a few witnesses that were killed in the so-called witness protection program of the city of Los Angeles. These are people that stood up and took a stand, as citizens, private citizens, and did the right thing to testify in court, only to lose their life due to lax security procedures and scarce funding to protect witnesses and the crimes that come forward. The state budget for witness protection is currently $3 million, which is relatively small given to the number of claims of assistance for witnesses that are submitted each year. This topic strikes a special chord with me because I am one of the witnesses that was not granted access to these funds. A little background to my case. In April 2009, I contacted Los Angeles police detectives regarding gang members dealing guns and weapons and drugs near my home. I was coerced by local detectives to arrange a meeting, and 30 months and 18 gun deals later, the investigation culminated with the arrest of 11 suspects and indictments. All were convicted and received sentences ranging from 5 to 9 years. The cost of my civic duty was 3 separate attempts on my life. I had to move twice at my own expense due to those attempts without financial assistance from the federal or state government. Okay. I would like to know why. Oh, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Arnold Sachs. Thank you, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. I, too, would like to congratulate the City Attorney's Office. The workers' savings are phenomenal. But how does that stack up about the amount of money being outsourced? Remember, I've asked this question once before. You have in-house attorneys and you pay for out-house attorneys. So how much money does the city spend on out-house attorneys? I'd also like to say congratulations to the City Council for its exquisite work on the business tax. The work you did on Wednesday, exempting mutual fund firms, because the articles were talking about how many car firms had left. There was a couple of articles that 95 car firms had left the city and it needed to chip away at the business tax. So mutual firms make up what percentage of the business tax that's paid, and a lot of work that went into that. And also, Mr. President Garcetti, on the 15th, when I talked about the city and the 8% edge you'll give to local firms, this is an article from the Daily Breeze. Assistant City Attorney Pete Echeverria, chief of the civil branch, said the same questions were debated during the revisions to the charter in 1999, and local was defined as businesses in the county and the state. So I asked the same question I asked on the 18th. What the hell did you do on Friday the 14th to spend an hour and a half yapping about giving local businesses an 8% edge when it's the city, the state, and the county? Please answer. And the mayor's plan for street paving. He wants to borrow $750 million in the next 27 years, which comes out to about $28 million. I'm telling you, if the council works with the departments in the city, that includes the DWP and the Public Works Department, with their infrastructure plans, the mayor can have the streets paved, and as soon as the last contracted truck leaves, the DWP can come in and tear the street up to put the pipes in, and as soon as their last contractor leaves, then the Public Works can come in and tear the streets up again and put their pipes in, because we know that this is open and transparent city council.
Thank you. Michael, carry on.
And I'm sorry I didn't get to talk about, I understand.
This is Michael Carrion. And I agree with the gentleman that came before me. This happens in my community all the time. You guys can't get your things together. I'm here for the same thing I'm always here for, the illegal parking enforcement. And Mr. Rosenthal put a panel together. They were supposed to meet 3 months ago. They still haven't met. Well, they never told me, and I was the one that was in charge of that. I was put here. I was the one asking for it. They met without me. There's the city at its best. Here I complain about the illegal parking, but they meet without me. They don't even tell me they're meeting. Wow. I've been trying to work with Mr. Weezar's office, but I had a meeting with him. Even he was upset with his own staff because his staff didn't have their stuff together. We sat in an office and they were going looking for papers and looking on the internet for information that they should have had. That's embarrassing to have to sit there and your staff doesn't even have the right answers for you. I drove by the parking right now on Broadway and Temple. There's 23 vehicles there illegally parked. They're even on the bridge going over the freeway. But for 4 years I've come here and spoke to you people on deaf ears. No one's done anything about it. Mr. Engelberg, pardon me if I said your name wrong, you talk about equality? I've heard you share a lot. I've heard you speak at home. Police vehicles are exempt. They're not exempt. But yet, police parking enforcement won't cite them.
Please direct your questions to the
Well,
bottom.
no, I am.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
talking
Chair.
about what he said.
Thank you.
So anyways, nobody cites them. So maybe you can look into that, or maybe he can look into that. Because you guys got double standards. My question is this fraud? Is this fraud? The city's broke, but yet you refuse to cite somebody for illegally parking. So therefore, there's no money coming to the city. That's revenue that is not coming to the city by collecting from that illegal parked vehicle. Fraud, once again.
Thank you. Let's go to San Fernando Valley. Anchor Patel in Van Nuys.
Thank you. I usually don't show up on Fridays because the dog and pony show that is presentations and proclamations, highlighted by the fact that Councilman Wesson actually brought out a chihuahua in a tutu. You're wasting our public time with a chihuahua in a tutu. Now, I can understand that you want to save animal lives, and I'm all for that. I'm not a vegetarian, but I believe in meatless Mondays, right? The way that we treat animals could be better, should be better. There are a lot of other things that we can do. And if you want to talk about saving lives, why don't we talk about saving lives in Somalia and the famine, or the child soldiers in Congo? And how does that tie into what's going on over here? Well, let me tell you how. The City Treasurer's Investment and Cash Management Report, right? There's a lot of Israel divestment campaigns, and we invest our money. The City Treasurer's Investment and the City Treasurer's Investment and Cash Management Report is a $6 billion document that this city spends our tax dollars on investing in a lot of corporations and companies that do foul around the world. We can actually affect that stuff. So maybe the dog that you can adopt makes you feel good right here, and please do. Talk to Herb Wesson about that. But I'm more concerned about the atrocities, and they are atrocities going around in the world. And now what can I do over here in an empty valley building? I don't know, man. I come here and I get frustrated on a regular basis because I feel like, God damn it, guys, you ain't paying attention to anything. Talking about chihuahuas and tutus. God damn it, guys, come on, please.
All right, the language has now become offensive. All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's come back to City Hall. Ari Kletsky, and there'll be one final speaker, Daniel Geisy. It's hard to read the spelling on that. Go ahead, Ari.
Thank you. I'm a 35-year resident of Los Angeles, and this is the first time I'm here at the City Council meeting. I want to thank you for the change to the dog barking ordinance you recently sent to the mayor. Excessive dog barking is the result of animal abuse in the form of gross negligence or worse. One question: what if one's neighbor will retaliate? The process for reporting excessive barking will divulge the identity of the person making the complaint. This opens them to retaliation such as property vandalism, which is nearly impossible to prove, or worse. As a result, the most egregious violators of the dog barking ordinance are able to hold neighbors captive. Considering that I can report a crime anonymously, I want to inquire if the Council would consider an addendum to the procedure that would protect the innocent while also protecting against false reporting. Perhaps a revised process that would require anonymity and include documentation such as recording, or would require two neighbors making the complaint for it to be anonymous. There could also be a $50 processing fee. Or perhaps the City Council could offer another suggestion to its citizens in this predicament. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And our final speaker, Daniel, it's hard to spell that last name. It's G or C. How do you pronounce that, sir? It's hard to read your writing.
Hi, my name is Daniel Gitzy. I'm a sophomore at the University of Southern California, and I am a part of the group called STOPS, which stands for Students Together on Public Safety. There's been a distinct lack of progress in public safety around the USC area, especially since the university has been growing at a faster pace than has been previously been seen. We're now the home to the most international students in the entire nation for a private university. I come before you today as a committee that's under Commissioner Valerie Shaw to ask you to improve public safety around the university. First and foremost, the issues revolve around crosswalks. As more and more students attend the university, there has become a distinct lack of progress in crosswalks, specifically speaking about the intersections of Jefferson and McClintock and Jefferson and Hoover and West 30th Street and University Avenue. These three crosswalks have been home to violent crimes, have been home to traffic accidents, which have also resulted in fatalities of USC students. I believe the time is now for the City of Los Angeles to take these things into consideration and to improve these crosswalks. Now, what I'm asking for is for the blinking pedestrian crosswalks to be implemented at these intersections. I believe it's a cost-effective solution, and I believe that it'll be the best for the students around USC. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That will complete our public comment period for today. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Mr. President, I believe Mr. Krikorian asked to reconsider item number 1.
Reconsider item number 1. Okay, so open the roll for reconsideration, close the roll, tabulate the vote. It's now been reconsidered, and to continue to when?
11 ayes. I believe you wanted to continue it to November 29th.
November 29th, so without opposition, it'll be continued to November 29th. Mr. Reyes?
Mr. President, if I may, like to move item 4 forthwith. It's already voted on.
Item 4 forthwith for Mr. Reyes.
Thank you.
Without opposition, vote on that item. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote. Did we already vote on that? Okay. Well, it's already been voted on, then we'll move it forthwith. Okay, thank you. I didn't know it was voted on yet. Next item, please.
Items 2 and 5, called special by Mr. Weezer. Motion 2A has been circulated.
2 and 5, we have cards on 2. Mr. Weezer, we have cards on 5. So we'll take the cards first. Thank you. Number 2, Monsignor John Moretta. Monsignor? Monsignor here in chambers? Monsignor's not here in chambers. Gail Kennard? Gail Kennard? I'm only going by the cards, Mr. Labange. Cultural heritage. And let's see who else we have here. Richard Barron. Tara. And those are the, I did not recognize as commissioners, but I don't know what happened to the Monsignor. I saw him in here earlier. So that's the folks on number 2, commissioners here to testify, and then number 5. We're taking these together?
Yes.
All right. How about Eric Lindenbach? And then Alex Ward, Paul Dana. If you'll please come forward, the 3 of you, for testimony. And then we'll have the commissioners and Mr. Weezer discuss from there. Eric Lindbach? No Eric Lindbach? Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Throughout the last 20 years of experience working in the field of bridge architecture, Safdie Rubinez has explored many different bridge replacement projects with several different communities. In fact, we had the privilege of working with the community of the Colfax Bridge Replacement Project in District 2. And we believe strongly that through community outreach, through the entire design phase, that this is the best way for engagement and a successful outcome on the project. It's evident that the 6th Street Bridge's architectural detailing and elegant forms have endeared it to the community with a sense of nostalgia and pride. We're now in a period of history where many bridge structures either lack ability to adapt to the current structural needs of the community or have reached the end of their useful life, and they're therefore in need of replacement. Since the Los Angeles River slices through the urban fabric, it's created an important collection of bridges that's left a deep and lasting memory with the community. As one of the first structures to be replaced, the 6th Street Bridge replacement provides us with an opportunity to envision how future bridge replacements should respond to current and urban visions that include the restoration of the river, the reinvention of downtown Los Angeles, and the creation of new memories for future generations. The new 6th Street Bridge should utilize state-of-the-art architecture, and engineering technology to achieve the highest level performance and create a lasting pathway that will symbolize the future. We do not believe history should be reproduced or copied. The challenge will be to keep the spirit of the 6th Street Bridge intact while transforming it into a new modern structure that carries a presence equal to the original bridge. The bridge replacement should be expressive of historical value of the original bridge while expanding on this imagery to present a new iconic image for future Angelenos.
Thank you, sir. Alex Ward. Again, folks, you have 2 minutes on the comments.
Good morning, members of the City Council. My name is Alex Ward. I'm an architect. I'm also chairman of the board of the Friends of the Los Angeles River. I'm here today on behalf of Friends of the Los Angeles River, and particularly Louis McAdams, our founder and president, who regrets he cannot be here today. The existing 6th Street Bridge is as I think we would all agree, a graceful and classic work of engineering design, and it's also a cherished and familiar symbol of the Los Angeles River, downtown Los Angeles, and especially the connection between Los Angeles and Boyle Heights. We at the Friends of the LA River urge that any replacement bridge be a structure of equal grace, drama, and distinction to the existing bridge, and be one that can act as a new symbol for Los Angeles and its river in the 21st century. The design of this new bridge should make history, not imitate history. The preferred alternative 4, as represented in the EIR-EIS, though it is only a starting point for the design, offers the best springboard to a world-class new bridge. The long-span structure outlined in this alternative allows for the riverbanks to be cleared of heavy bridge supports, permitting future development of river access and improvements to the river channel itself, such as widening open space, bike lanes, all of which are in keeping with the guidelines of the 2007 Los Angeles River Revitalization Master Plan. The alternate 1 design in the EIR keeps these piers, and in fact widens them, and offers an unsatisfactory attempt at reproduction of the existing bridge, which is neither accurate nor has the grace and poetry of the original. We urge the Council to approve the basic design outlined in preferred alternative 4. Thank you very much.
Again, 2 minutes, folks. Paul Dana. Marco Spilo after Mr. Dana.
Council members and Council President, good morning. My name is Paul Dana. I'm an architect who lives in Los Angeles and practices here and around the world. I'm also a past president of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Institute of Architects and the designer of the LAPD headquarters project across the street. As civic leaders and architects, we both have a responsibility to be stewards of our built environment. I believe very strongly in valuing our past and preserving our historic structures. When that is not possible, however, I'm strongly against trying to imitate structures of the past with new ones. Instead, I believe we should look to the spirit of our time for inspiration. That's the real spirit of Los Angeles. Our city is one of the most creative places on the planet, and LA architects and designers are working around the globe, bringing bold contemporary visions to life that are adding to the cultural richness, quality of life, and economic vitality of other cities. Please do not place historical stylistic restrictions on the design of the 6th Street Viaduct. And please keep your minds open to the benefits, cultural, functional, economic, and more, that world-class contemporary design can bring to Los Angeles, and in particular the open spaces, communities, and people that this new bridge has the potential to enrich. I strongly urge you to be open to a contemporary design for the 6th Street Viaduct and the gifts that it can bring to the city of LA. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Carrion. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark Spilo, and then Michael Carrion. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President and honorable council members, my name is Mark Spilo. I'm the president of Spilo Worldwide, a company of approximately 85 employees I brought 4 of them with me today: Ronnie Duran, Irma Escobar, Maria Hernandez, and Robert Hernandez. They are all longtime residents of Los Angeles who travel to work by public transportation. Spilo manufactures, imports, and distributes over 3,000 beauty supply products in the U.S. and 45 countries. We have been located in the city of Los Angeles for over 70 years and in downtown for 3 decades. Our company is located at Santa Fe and 6th, adjacent to the bridge. Our property has been identified in the EIR for potential acquisition and relocation. It is our objective, however, to remain and to continue operating during the bridge demolition and construction. The Bureau of Engineering staff has assured us they share the same objective. We understand they are working with the space planning consultants to identify alternatives that would permit us to continue operations at the current location. We were told we would be provided these alternatives in October, but we also understand that the Bureau staff has been focused on moving the project through the city process. They have done a very commendable job on this bridge project. Our focus, and it is critical to our decision-making process, is to see what those alternatives are. We are eager to have the Bureau complete the space planning analysis. If we are forced to relocate, we will very likely be moving to another city. We have not found any plausible alternative sites in the Los Angeles industrial zone. Forcing Spilo to relocate outside LA would be a significant loss to the city, as well as a major loss for us. We are a Los Angeles company, and we want to remain a Los Angeles company. We ask that the City Council support our objectives, which we share with the BOE. First, to keep us operational during project, and second, to complete the space planning analysis so we can remain in this great city for another 75 years.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your workers being here. Michael Carrion? Michael Carrion, not here. David Martin. David Martin, followed by Carlos Montes.
Thank you. My name is David Martin. I'm the design partner for Albert C. Martin. And I want to start by offering real support and sensitivity to the preservation movement and my friends at the Cultural Heritage Commission. But I do understand that it is not feasible to exactly replicate this bridge. I find that this is a great opportunity to create something that is new, exciting, and very innovative for our city. Some people say Los Angeles is the creative center of the world, creative capital of the world. We surely have this opportunity to create this dynamism, to bring this to our city. One last comment. Ultimately, copies of anything, copies, particularly if they're not are not accurate, have little value over time. I think we have the opportunity to have a marvelous original here that will inspire this generation and future generations to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. David Martin. Carlos Montes.
Good morning, members of the City Council. My name is Carlos Montes. I'm with Caltrans Environmental Planning. We have been a partner with the bridge program on this project. Caltrans acts as a federal highway lead. Through the environmental process, we had analyzed many alternatives, including retrofit and new bridge designs. Through community and stakeholder input, we were able to select Bridge Concept 4 and Alignment 3B as our preferred alternatives. And we hope you can choose that alternative as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Arnold Sachs. Arnold Sachs, followed by Monsignor John Morella. Is the Monsignor returned? Well, after Mr. Sachs, the Monsignor, and then Will Wright and Adrian Fine, and those will be our final speakers on this matter. Then we'll go back to Mr. Weezer. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. Couple of concerns when you're discussing this bridge. Just to remind people about Carmageddon, how the MTA made an offer, incentive offer, if they beat the deadline, and the construction company was able to put more equipment on the job. So you're going to demolish this bridge. I'm not sure what the plan is, but if they're going to demolish the bridge, make sure that that little loophole is filled so that you don't offer a carrot with a stick that can be easily broken. And then another point of this is the actual relevance of the EIR report. As an example, the county just authorized an EIR report for development at the Green Line station at Aviation Boulevard for some housing that's going to be built there. But prior to them authorizing the EIR, both the Green Line, the MTA authorized the Green Line, whatever, and the Crenshaw Line to both do EIR reports. The Crenshaw Line is finished with their EIR report, but it doesn't include the housing. So my question is the exact relevance of these EIR reports. If the county Board of Supervisors, which sits on Metro, can authorize EIR reports for the rail lines at a rail station, then turn around and authorize housing after the EIR report is done, what is the relevance of the EIR report in the first place? Or just follow up on more money? So I ask exactly the relevance of these EIR reports and the fact that maybe developers come in after the fact and put up projects that aren't included in the initial drawings or plans.
Will Wright.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Will Wright. I work for the American Institute of Architects, and we are here to express our strong support for the work that the Bureau of Engineering has done here. We've been involved with this process for 2.5 years, and we're really excited with what they have here in front of us. I'll read our letter. Since the design for the replacement bridge should represent positive and progressive vision for the city of Los Angeles, we strongly favor an iconic design that will create a compelling new monument for 21st century Los Angeles. A bridge designed with the highest standards of design excellence will serve as an excellent, compelling addition to the historic Merrill Butler family of bridges. In fact, to uphold the high standards Mr. Butler set forth, new bridges are not meant to be efficient, just simply efficient conveyors of traffic, but stylish, unique, civic monuments that uplift the populace and engender pride in the city. We strongly encourage City Council to support a progressive design decision for the 6th Street Bridge that will allow the opportunity to create a new, iconic, and contemporary landmark for Los Angeles, catalyze economic growth and revitalization of the Arts District, Boyle Heights, and throughout downtown, and attract tourist interest citywide, a bridge that will strengthen the link between Boyle Heights and downtown, a bridge that will create new, accessible public open space throughout the Los Angeles River, and encourage pedestrian and bicycle activity. As an expensive piece of infrastructure, the 6th Street Viaduct must serve a multiplicity of functions to perform optimally. Its design must facilitate greater mobility, connectivity, and social equity for all Angelenos. And as a gateway to the revitalization of the river, its design must perform for the betterment of our ecology and sense of place citywide. Thank you.
Adrian Fine. And as the Monsignor returned, Mr. Fine, you'll be our last speaker.
Good morning, members of council. Adrian Scott Fine with the Los Angeles Conservancy as their Director of Advocacy. Since 2007, the Los Angeles Conservancy has been advocating for a preservation-based approach for the 6th Street Bridge as the last built, the largest, and the most famous and recognized of the river bridges attaining iconic status. We now recognize and know that rehabilitation is not possible given the extraordinary circumstances that we're facing here. However, given this reality, the Los Angeles Conservancy does think it is very important to think of, plan for, and consider the Los Angeles River bridges as a cohesive ensemble where context matters tremendously. These bridges were designed to complement one another. A new 6th Street span should do the same and continue this tradition rather than be designed as essentially as a standalone bridge that divorces itself from the overall collection of historic bridges, which is our concern with the project that's before you today. For these reasons, the Los Angeles Conservancy cannot support the current preferred alternative project. The design approach for the 6th Street Bridge to complement rather than, as envisioned in the preferred alternative, overshadow the rest of the LA River bridges. The Conservancy, along with the Cultural Heritage Commission, instead supports a modified main span replication alternative 1, which has the opportunity to meet the project objectives and offer an appropriate design approach that honors the ensemble collection of LA River bridges. Again, we urge your support of this, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes our public speakers on the items. Mr. Weezer, your preference next.
Yes, the commission's up here, but I was hoping we'd have a presentation by the Bureau. I don't know if
that's fine.
If you want to have
Mr. Moore,
have them present first the project, or did the commission sign up as public speakers? I'm a bit confused.
They did sign up with the public speakers, but they are commissioners, so we'll give preference to you, Mr. Weezer.
You want to speak now or afterwards? That's fine.
If it's okay with
it's
okay with you, we can speak now.
All right, and then we'll have the presentation by Mr. Moore. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Richard Barron. I'm president of the Cultural Heritage Commission, and I'm flanked by two commissioners that have attended this meeting. The LA Conservancy spoke very elegantly about our position in terms of feeling that the proposed bridge is not in keeping with the character of the Butler bridges that cross the river. These are a family of bridges that are all historic monuments overseen by the Cultural Heritage Commission. The Cultural Heritage Commission has close to 1,000 cultural monuments in the city of Los Angeles, and we look at these monuments as being very important to the city. This will be the first monument in 20 years that is to be demolished. At first, we had a very difficult time comprehending the need to demolish the 6th Street Bridge. But as we understood the problems with the concrete, we have agreed that it's necessary to remove the bridge. We would prefer to see a replication of the bridge as stated as number 1 in the EIR. We feel that the proposed bridge is not in keeping with the character of the historic bridges. One of the things I'd like to point out about the bridge is the realignment of the bridge. The Department of Engineering wants to realign the bridge because of a kink in the bridge that was associated with the original design, stating a problem with safety on the bridge. This realignment of the bridge is requiring several property takes on both sides of the bridge, as expressed by the gentleman here whose factory is in jeopardy of being lost. I don't believe I've ever seen a study about how this taking will affect people on each side of the bridge. And I think it's something that the City Council should look into. There are many streets in the city of Los Angeles that have kinks in them. There's one right down the street from my house that I travel on every day. This is for traffic engineers, this is a big problem, but motorists deal with this every day, and I think it's maybe an overstated problem in terms of developing this design for the bridge. There's also a lot of money associated with these property takes, which is increasing the cost of the bridge. So we would like you to vote for the number 1 alternative and to think about postponing this judgment until we can sort these things out a little further. And I would like to see the City Council get involved with this decision in a more precise way. Thank you.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Okay, Tara Hamaker, Commission of Cultural Heritage Commission. I would like to say that I think it's been a little bit misinterpreted as to our flexibility on this issue. I feel that we're being pigeonholed and that basically it's being presented to the public that we want a full-scale replication, which would include replicating the spans over the railroad and stuff. However, that's not our viewpoint on it. We are willing to allow a compromise, and basically Concept 1 addresses that compromise, and we fully support that, and we voted unanimously for that. So I think that's an important clarification for the council to understand. And in addition to that, at our Cultural Heritage Commission meeting, Basically, what I was stating is that in concept one, that is already representing our flexibility, that the spans over the railroad tracks need to be widened, and we recognize that deficiency. And I think when it's being presented to you, they're presenting it as we are coming that everything needs to be replicated on this bridge, which is not what we're doing. That would be concept 1A, okay? And that has not been carried forward in the full EIR. So we're not focusing on that. We realize that we have to compromise here. We have extenuating circumstances, so we're trying our best to comply with the Secretary of Interior standards, at which state, if all other, preservation options have been exhausted, replication is a viable option, and we are only asking for the main span to be replicated. The steel arches do not have concrete cancer. They are historic fabric that is still there, that is going to be thrown out and disregarded, and that is the architectural feature that carries through the LA River. And if the LA River people are serious about revitalizing the river, they should be serious about keeping our historic fabric. So that is very much what we're asking for. And I think that this really jumped out at me at our Cultural Heritage Commission meeting, because Chris Espinoza with the mayor's office was there, and he came up and testified and said, I had no idea that your commission was coming so far to the other side. So he complimented us on our ability to be flexible on this very unique situation. So I think that's very important to stress. And we do feel that this is a family of bridges. If we go with a very modern structure, it will ruin the view shed of the LA River. And I think it's something that really needs to be considered here. So thank you for your time.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Gail Kennard. I'm a Cultural Heritage Commissioner, and I share the concerns of my fellow commissioners. I would just like to echo their concerns about the issue of the ensemble of bridges here. If this was a situation where it was just one bridge that was going to be replaced, and there was an opportunity for a replacement that would create an iconic vision for the city of Los Angeles, I don't think that would be an issue. What we're talking about here, though, is there is a view line up the river of not only this bridge, but other successive bridges. If the 6th Street Bridge is replaced by a bridge that doesn't complement those existing bridges, we're really losing a very important part of our historic fabric. So I hope that the council will consider that, and also consider this is a very important decision. There are millions of dollars at stake, and I hope that you will weigh this very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we now have Mr. Weezer and then Mr. Englander, and we want Mr. Moore to come forward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. If the staff and the Bureau could come up now and make a presentation, and thank you very much to our commission, who does a wonderful job of looking out for the history of the city of Los Angeles. And I think it will behoove all of us if the Bureau and our chief engineer makes a brief presentation on what's before us. We heard this in both Budget and Finance and in Public Works Committee, and it's also gone through the Cultural Heritage Commission. And now, being that it's the first time before the full council, it'd be great if you could give us just a brief overview of what's before us. I know in each of the committees we had a slideshow and all that stuff. Just a brief overview of what's before us would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good morning, council members. Gary Moore, city engineer. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning. The 6th Street Viaduct, I was very pleased to hear that the work that we've done over the last 4 years, that everybody's in agreement, that I've heard in the public speakers this morning and from the commission, that indeed the 6th Street Bridge must be replaced. It's sick with a cancer called alkali silica reaction. And for public safety reasons, we need to replace this bridge. This bridge has had this history of deterioration. And in the process to be here today, we've had a tremendous amount of community outreach. We've had 11 community advisory committee meetings and numerous meetings to go over 20 meetings with just the community. A lot of thought went into this, and the community came back to us, and I want to just thank Councilman Weezer, who was at these meetings, and his staff who continued to be there with us. The community said we wanted something new and different. And working with our design team, we're here today to present concept number 4, which is a contemporary cable-supported structure. The Bureau of Engineering has the history of building the bridges and the history of rehabilitating the existing bridges, and we're very sensitive to the bridges. As I've said more than once, it pains us to be here today to have to replace this beautiful bridge. But we do believe that working with the community and listening to them, it was very important to bring forward their vision of what they'd like to see. And as we move forward in the design effort, as the preferred alternative, if that's to be selected here today, we will definitely be continuing the tremendous community involvement and also being sensitive to the other 11 bridges that are next to the 6th Street Viaduct. So that's a very brief summary on the bridge. And I can go into funding later, or I can talk about that now.
Yes, and I'll open up for questions with my colleagues, and I'll say some final words at the end. But we have Miguel Santana, our CAO here. He could speak as well to the financials. And we've submitted a motion that will strengthen our ability to get federal financial funds to make sure this project moves forward. It's issues that Mr. Englander brought up both in Budget and Finance and Public Works Committee, and thanks to his questions, we are able to fill in some gaps that we need to make sure we move this project forward. But at the end of the day, we've had a number of community meetings. We've been working with staff for about 3 to 4 years. And Jerry has also joined us from CLA at the table if anybody has any questions. It's a very difficult decision. My record is a very strong one when it comes to preservation, and I've been doing everything in my power, whether we move forward with more HPOZ zones in my district or we're doing the preservation we're doing in downtown. In this case, it came down to a matter of, because of the acidic corrosion of the bridge, we have to tear it down. Everyone agrees with that. So what do we do next? There is whether we do a replication or we do a new design, but with as many historical elements as possible. And that's the direction we've given to BOE, that the final product have a new design that will help people get to the river. If the river does become more navigable, et cetera, it's going to combine and work in conjunction with the vision that Mr. Reyes has been proposing for the river, and allows us to make those changes we have to make that we wish we could have under the existing footprint of the bridge, but at the same time try to incorporate as many historical elements as possible. It's an opportunity, and at the same time, it is a loss for us losing a wonderful bridge that has been identified so much with the city of Los Angeles, given just the number of commercials that are filmed there, the number of the history that's been there. So we're moving in the right direction. I want to compliment and thank the staff for your wonderful work. It was a long road ahead, and not only is this one of the most difficult decisions to make, but also just given the enormity of this task, one of the largest public infrastructure programs that your Bureau is going to be facing and has faced in recent memory. So thank you for your work.
All right. We now have Mr. Englander, then Mr. LaBonge, and Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Thank you, Mr. Huizar. And thank you. Well, we've already heard this, as Mr. Huizar said, in 2 committees. And I brought my concerns up in both of those committees, one dealing with the financial aspects of this and the funding sources and the guarantees of those funding sources, and then the second dealing with the elements of design. And so with that, on the funding source, that was really the critical thing that I had concern over. The elements of design I had questions about, and questions which really brought us back to the funding, because it turns out I had the opportunity to go through everything and stay up late last night and read all the materials. It would be almost $100 million more to completely bring in what everybody else would like, or what I should say is sort of the other opinions, if you will. And this is a hybrid of all of what's in the best interest of the character and the historical elements, as well as creating a new bridge and trying to save money. And looking at the infrastructure needs of the city right now, it's critical that we try to do as much as we can, as efficiently as we can, without ruining the character of neighborhoods or historical monuments. And I think you've done a great job at trying to capture all of that. In a perfect world, we'd spend as much money as possible. And relating to the funding mechanism, I had the opportunity to speak with some of our experts overnight and this morning as well. And I want to compliment Miguel and Gary Leemore. Gary particularly, since we've gone through, I've had the pleasure of working with Gary for many years. And if we look at all of our public infrastructure projects and public works projects, bond projects from building libraries and animal shelters and police stations, fire stations, we've gotten more done with less, or more's gotten more done with less. And I applaud you on that. And so when we spoke about the funding sources and looking for the guarantee, one of my questions was, well, even if we didn't have any guarantee at all, and it seems that we do, it's just, it'll never be 100%. But the resolution that Mr. Huizar and Mr. Parks are presenting, that they submitted this morning, is very strong. It makes it one of our top legislative priorities, which I think is absolutely critical. I'm confident under the new council leadership as well, when working with the mayor's office, that it will remain a top legislative priority, and I have that confidence in not only them, but and I won't say in Washington because I don't, but I certainly have it here in this building, that we'll keep our eye on that and make sure that we do get the reimbursements. So I'm confident with that as well, and just wanted to find out, and my only question was really to Miguel and to Gary and to Jerry, is will this stay one of our top legislative initiatives to make sure that we're working closely with the mayor's office for these full reimbursements, and that we continue to monitor that in the transportation initiative that's being put forth in Washington right now as well?
In answer to your question, yes, it absolutely will. I mean, the whole issue of transportation funding has always been a top priority. We've been in many meetings at the League of Cities meetings in D.C. With the Department of Transportation, for the transportation bill funding, issues with the Highway Trust Fund. So it's a top priority. This is going to remain a top priority, and obviously this is a top priority for Caltrans as well. And I mean, it's important to note that of the total cost of this bridge, a little more than 1% is coming from the city. So I think that demonstrates the high priority that this represents for all the agencies.
Great. Well, thank you very much again. Thanks for coming back to me and answering all these questions. Again, coming in, I wasn't aware of all the logistics involved that have led up to the last 5, 6, 7 years in dealing with this, quite frankly, and applaud you on that. So once again, I think you've gone over and above, and you've shown and proven time and time again of these type of funding sources that they have come through fruition, and so I appreciate that. Thank you for addressing that.
Mr. LaBonge.
Mr. Huizar, I love you, but I love the 6th Street Bridge more. And I am shocked, Mr. Gary Lee Moore, after we look at this issue here, this project that was done in the 90s to the national survey of all of our bridges. Merrill Butler, who was the deputy city engineer, came across and designed these bridges in the City Beautiful movement in the 20s. It's a gateway from Boyle Heights with that tower that comes in and comes across. And the concept of the Cultural Heritage Commission gave a little hope, a little opportunity to maybe do something that reaches everybody's goal. The 6th Street Bridge is very important. Let me ask a question. What are the counts of vehicles on the 7th Street Bridge, Olympic Boulevard Bridge, 6th Street, 4th Street, 1st Street? Do you know all the counts?
I do not have those counts with me.
I know. Do we know which one is the busiest bridge?
I know that
we should know the counts. So here's what I'd like to ask.
Well,
find out all the counts of all the bridges up the river. This drastically changes what is a tremendous view of this bridge. Very much changes it. Unbelievably changes. And you're going to widen it by 33 feet? The roadway is going to be widened by 33 feet?
We're getting it cleared to, yes, that it can be widened up to 33 feet, yes.
Yeah, I go over the 6th Street Bridge anytime I can. I take everybody to the top of City Hall anytime I can. If someone comes to visit City Hall, I go to your district. I go to your district and I come back and I show them the magnificent bridge that someone thought of. And as time has went on, we built this great skyline that now affects the view. And we're not going to get any closer to the river there because the railroad is there. The railroad is there. So I'm just hurt by this because I know in another argument some time ago, and maybe Clark Robbins was here then, but I wanted a full discussion about all the bridges. So they never really, and I know we each have districts, but the title of our first name is Los Angeles, so this is a Los Angeles bridge. So I think it's real important that we think of what the Cultural Heritage said as an option. And I like Chris Martin, but Chris Martin's dad designed this. Someone saved this building. There was administrations in the 90s who wanted to duplicate this building, tear it down. No, we saved it. We saved it. The bridges are very important and iconic, and there could be a design that keeps the traditional, which has been filmed around the world and seen around the world, the traditional span and some modern design. So I would say to my colleagues on the City Council that if we look at the second element, and also how much take do you have to have as far as the private property, I don't know, but I think it could be thought of easier. Bridges are our monuments in public works, and it hurts me to see that we would let this bridge go. Okay, I know there's some other bridges that may, and Clark Robbins will come back tell you today that he's shameful that we did the Main Street Bridge the way we did. There's other opportunities. I rest my case.
And your time is up. Thank you. Mr. Reyes, Mr. Koretz, after Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I love Tom's passion for the history of Los Angeles. I always refer to him as the greatest cheerleader for Los Angeles, and I thank you for that, Tom. But I wanted to ask, how many community meetings were conducted in this process?
We had 11 Community Advisory Committee meetings, and we had over 20 meetings on this bridge.
And listening to the council of the district, my understanding is that the scenario that you are proposing is what the community stakeholders were supporting. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
So over the 11 meetings, there's many stakeholders, many different interest groups, but the majority went with this scenario.
That is correct. They wanted something new and different.
Okay. When I look at capacity, are we introducing wider sidewalks and pathways for bicyclists?
Yes, we are. We're adding for both.
And will we have access to the river?
There will not, from the top of the bridge, there is not a planned direct access, but the preferred alternative that's proposed to you spans the railroads. Thus, it does give access along the riverbank so that someday we could put a bikeway in there, we believe.
Great. So we will have one less obstacle on the banks. God willing, in the future, we can do what other cities have done, either move the rail lines or build infrastructure to be along the river corridor and build a riverfront district.
Similar to what we're doing in the valley now in the Los Angeles River.
So this is capacity building for the future?
We believe so, yes.
And it's also costing us at $20 million to $100 million less?
There's a couple things on that. Yes, concept one is $20 million more. A full replica is $100 million more. I did hear this morning that there was talk about eliminating the, we'll call it the kink in the roadway. The federal government has informed us that we wouldn't receive federal funding then if we don't remove that. So it would, the bridge replacement then we would not receive the federal funding.
And the view shed of the arches, as you look down at this family of bridges, the disruption that was discussed in these community meetings?
We showed the community, we built a model of the preferred alternative. The community is well informed, was made up of the businesses and residents of the neighborhood, and they discussed all aspects of this preferred alternative.
Colleagues, I was very fortunate to witness the rebuilding of Buena Vista Bridge on Broadway. It's a smaller bridge, I mean, in terms of length, but historically, it's magnificent. It's one of the major arterials that connect the downtown. And I saw Public Works, Bureau of Engineering, do their best to maintain that. But it's a different bridge. It has a different role. 6th Street Bridge, it is magnificent in its historic nature. We can't take that away from it. But at the same time, we have to look to the future, what our dollars are presenting to us as opportunities, and looking at the consensus building process of the overall community and how they engage the council member and the officials to come up with a scenario, and that has to be respected as well. So my weight goes with the council member because he does represent the district. My weight goes to the community who went through the process, all these meetings, and they came to that consensus. But just as significant, its potential capacity for what it can do for the river corridor in the future. And that is just as significant as well. So it is a very heart-wrenching decision because this is a beautiful, beautiful bridge. But because of these processes, we need to make a decision. So I just stand in support of the council member and the community folks who, at the majority level, decide on this scenario. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Koretz, followed by Mr. Labange once again.
Thank you, Mr. President. We discussed this in committee, and we've discussed it here on the floor, and I think we've had a good discussion on most issues. But the one that I never thought we had an adequate answer to and hasn't yet been raised today is the question of what we do between now and when we build the bridge because of the bridge's somewhat dangerous status as a bridge which would have a 70% chance of collapse in a 7.0 earthquake. I know it's functional, it's fine if we don't have an earthquake. It takes a lot of traffic, so obviously nobody's anxious to shut it down. But the question is, have we looked at that possibility? Have we looked at what our chances are of having a 7.0 earthquake between now and the time we would normally demolish it to rebuild it? What are the chances that we actually have a bridge collapse in that circumstance? And have we actually given serious thought to this? I asked that question. They said, yes, the bridge will be fine now. It functions fine. But they kind of refused to address the earthquake question. So can we have an answer to that? How dangerous is it? Is this a big mistake for us to keep it open? Should we be shutting this down next week? Although we know it'll be a traffic disaster for as long as it's shut down. That'll happen when we do the rebuilding regardless. How dangerous is it for the city of Los Angeles to keep this bridge open between now and when we would normally demolish it or rebuild it?
The current schedule right now, if the project is to go forward, that the bridge would be open for another 3 years approximately, maybe a little less, but it would be open for about 3 more years. I spoke to Mike Miles, the district director of Caltrans, this morning personally about this question about the bridge and the safety, because the inspections of this bridge actually fall under Caltrans. He assured me once again that the bridge is safe to be open. He agrees that it is deteriorating on a daily basis. It's sick with this cancer, and we need to move to replacement. One of the things, Councilman, I think you bring up, they normally inspect it on a biannual basis. I'm going to, after this meeting, ask Mike that we do it on a much more frequent basis, and I want to speak out to him about the frequency that we're doing this bridge. We know it's a lowly rated bridge, and that's why we're here to replace it. And yes, it is. That's why we're here today, to replace the bridge.
So Caltrans considers a bridge that has a 70% chance of collapsing in a 7.0 earthquake a safe to be open bridge?
Yes.
And is that something we have to listen to, and is that a determining factor for us? Or can we independently say there's some reasonable chance of a 7.0 earthquake in the city of Los Angeles, and the fact that it is likely to collapse in such an earthquake based on their own calculations is something we should look at and consider and whether to keep it open?
I'll be glad to report back, meet with him again, set this up, and come back in a much more comprehensive report for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, and hopefully sooner rather than later, because it is a serious question. And I don't know what the odds are. I mean, we are sort of playing the odds. It would be good to know what the experts think a chance of a 7.0 earthquake occurring in the city of Los Angeles are realistically. And if they're 1 in 50 or 1 in 1,000, I think we have to weigh the serious traffic impacts for 3 years against the chance of an earthquake that would have devastating results to anyone that might be present on this bridge at that time.
I will report back, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Labonte.
Mr. Gary Lee Moore, we have 17 bridges that are the Merrill Butler, or thereabout, 15 to 17 bridges.
You are correct.
Have you inspected them all, if any of them have cancer like this for their concrete or any other challenge?
Yes.
And does anybody ever have a cancer challenge like this? When I say cancer, considering the concrete mix?
This alkali silica reaction, this is the only bridge with that.
This is the only bridge, is it? All right, let me ask you another question. You or your staff met with the California High-Speed Rail Authority?
Yes.
This bridge?
Not on this bridge.
Okay, the reason why I bring that up is I hope we could get through this challenging time. And again, I love you. I maybe love you equally now, Jose, because I see your smile. But I think we should meet with the High-Speed Rail Authority, find out if we're designing something that's going to be compatible. I would hope that high-speed rail comes to Los Angeles. It's the railroad's there, and Mike McKelvey was the Secretary of the Board of Public Works. And when I started working here long ago, Mike McKelvey said, if you think we're tough, work with the railroads. Railroads have 1,000 cities from all the way across the line, and they don't make it exceptions. They ain't going anywhere. So the high-speed rail should be considered. And you have explained to the council about alternate 1A.
Alternate 1A is a complete replication of the aesthetic look. It is not a replica in that you're widening the bridge to accommodate the wider sidewalks and bike lanes, and that's
center right?
That's concept number one. Concept number one would be $20 million more because you have to add 3 more sets of columns, and that's what drives the cost up. Because with the cable-supported bridge, you're allowed to have wider supports.
What was the original cost of City Hall renovation?
I don't know that number.
But it was higher than what it was. It wasn't one of those on-time, on-budget things. It does. Is this bridge worth that? For $20 more million out of what's the total cost?
The total project cost is $401 million.
And have we asked for any preservation money from Washington? Because there are pockets of preservation money in Washington. I would ask, and I know, Mr. Huizar, you want this to go away, if we could look at that aspect of it, because that's iconic. That is the view that you see when you look up the river. That's the view that you see, which is so important. What do you think, Gary?
Well, sir, it would not be a preservation option. It will not satisfy the National Parks Secretary of Interior standards for reconstruction.
Well, how can you get anything if it's protected by the national standards? Is there any protection that's on this bridge at all?
Deborah Weintraub, she wants me to...
Councilman Labange, Deborah Weintraub, Bureau of Engineering. It is a city cultural historical monument and eligible for listing on the National Register in its current form. Even the Secretary of Interior standards for reconstruction, and this would be a reconstruction, not a restoration, it would not be eligible for status as a monument at the federal or the state level.
But how can you touch it? Because in 2000, the Los Angeles River Bridges Recording Project, a historic American engineering record, long-range programs that collects and preserves and interprets information on historic significant engineering, industrial, and maritime sites in the United States, administered by the Division of National Park Service, United States Department of Interior. That sounds like the federal government. You know, and I would just say, if you have 3 years, hey, if this was to put people to work in January, I'd sit down. I'd eat it. But we have 3 years, and we haven't even met with high-speed rail. So I think we have to have a little option, first of all, too, on the high-speed rail, which is extremely important, and then the other issue on if this phase makes sense to the community, to the councilman, and to the community of people who love historic bridges.
Mr. Labange, your time is over. Thank you. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. And Councilmember Labange, those are some very good questions, and it's the type of discussion that happened with the stakeholders and both in committee and my office did in fact talk to the high-speed rail. We showed them the alignment, the design, the potential design. they say they're okay with it, but they're still under discussion about their actual alignment. So, but they know what we have going, and they'll try to accommodate if, in fact, it has any impact here locally. Again, I pressed the Bureau and our staff every step of the way in the last 3 years. And when they first came to me and said, we have to demolish the bridge, I said, no way, we're not going to demolish the bridge. They explained to me why. They got some data together from national experts on this and say the corrosion, it's going to have to demolish, or if we don't do this, if we don't make that decision, there's going to come a day when either through an earthquake or we're just going to have to shut down that bridge because we didn't think ahead and do the planning we had to do for the future, and said we had to do something to rebuild this bridge. The second step was, well, okay, what design will it have now that we've decided we have to do away with this bridge? Do we completely replicate it? And there again, I said, let's replicate it. That's where my vote was, along with many other stakeholders who also have an opinion about this, from historical perspective, from architects, from planners, from local community members on both sides of the bridge. My vote was, let's replicate this. As the discussion went on, I came to a point where I think I'm going with the majority of what I was hearing at many of these meetings, but also to say that if we replicate, we would lose the opportunity about access to the river. We would lose the opportunity to expand the bridge, to provide those additional bike lanes, expand the pedestrian access, etc. So the cost-benefit analysis at the end of the day, with much discomfort, I was put in a place to support what the Bureau what the Bureau is recommending. And again, it's a very tough decision. Now, the second piece of that was, in following Mr. Englander's discussion on the financials, he brought up some very good questions, and I think we are solidifying that so that we ensure that we're not getting into a trap that we can't get out of, a financial commitment we can't get out of. And we have the few city financial commitment to that. The federal is the majority, and we have to keep an eye on it like a hawk to make sure that those federal dollars don't slip away. But I feel much more comfortable being here, and this process worked. You go and get as much public opinion. You refine your thoughts. You refine the data, and here we are making the final decision. And I think it's the right place to go given the cost and benefit analysis that we've all put into this. So I ask for your aye vote on both item 2 and 5. And President, as we move forward, I've asked by the staff that we need to do 5 first. So we could first vote on 5 and then vote on 2 separately.
That's
that would
correct.
be the appropriate way to go.
That's the instruction from the city attorney. So colleagues, there's no one else on the queue. We will vote on 5, followed by number 2. So on number 5, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no. 10 ayes, 1 no.
All right, that matter passes. On number 2, open the roll.
And Mr. President, it's item 2 as amended by motion 2A.
Correct. Close the roll, tabulate the vote on number 2.
11 ayes.
All right, next item, please.
Item 9, call special for cards.
Number 9. We have cards from Arnold Sachs. Is Arnold Sachs still here? Yes, he is. Mr. Sachs, number 9.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. This is tax-exempt bonds, the city-friendly bank for tax-exempt bonds. And just out of curiosity, going back to the mayor's plan for the streets, that he wants to borrow funding, bonds is a different way of doing that. In yesterday's New York Times, sharp decline in revenue is forecast for California's. So if the mayor has a plan to borrow against future Measure R funds, revenue source for the future, and there's a sharp decline in forecast, how will that affect the future of the people who are left to pay for these bonds and these allocations that the money is being burned through today?
All right, let's go to San Fernando Valley of Van Nuys City Hall. Anchor Patel, number 9.
Maybe you were still upset about that apology that you gave me a little while. That's why you took my time away earlier. But this one specifically, right? The $28.5 million in bonds to build a loft, right? To build lofts, apartments, more space that we aren't using. It's amazing how this city continues to use money on these things that we shouldn't be using money on. And then we continue to write bonds for these things. We could be investing in so many other things, and this just continues to happen and happen and happen. And I'm still I was going to leave, but I got frustrated because you took my time away. So the abstract concept of something, an entity, a being, whatever it may be, does affect this, right? It affects everything. God, forsaken, right? It's forsaken. It's trivial. I don't like it. Damn. God damn. Oh no. I can't believe that you took away my time for that. This is amazing. Forsaken. I don't know. I'm just taking my 2 minutes here because how are you not letting people speak on So again, let's go back to this, the tax-exempt bonds, right? You guys are tax-exempting a lot of different stuff, and then we're complaining about being broke about so many other things. Again, the issue is, what are we investing in, right? I usually don't get stumbled up here, but today I'm just frustrated with the whole situation. The dog and pony show, chihuahuas and tutus, you know, all those sorts of things continue to happen, and no one pays attention. And
Mr.
again,
President, he's
another
not talking about
$28.5
this
million.
item.
Another $28.5
All right, I think
million.
he's done.
No, I'm going to use all my time. So I got another $28.
Well, you're done. Thank you very much. All right, we're not going to argue the point. On that matter, colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 11, call special for cards.
Arnold Sachs. Arnold Sachs, number 11.
Yes, thank you again. Arnold Sachs, waiving the street improvement requirements for the 85-unit affordable housing project located at 2914 West 8th Street and 2927 West Francis Avenue. So I look and I say, you're waiving the requirements. That means the street will not be improved. I'm reading this correctly because, A, you should have seen the dolly with all the reports they just took out of this room about the 6th Street bridge. Must have been 10,000 pages how much money was invested in that. B, you're having street improvements downtown here. The CRA is funding for the Grand Avenue Museum, for the Art Museum. And you can find funds for this, but you can't find funds for that.
Thank you. Let's go to San Fernando Valley. Anchor Patel, number 11.
So that's what affordable housing means? No street lights, no improvements. That's affordable housing. I'm not surprised that this city continues to shortchange its constituents, not just in terms of street lighting and services, but time at public meetings. Shortchanging left and right. I have 2 minutes to speak on this issue, and if I could have the opportunity to try and tie it back into the item, I should get that opportunity without you shortchanging me. So we're getting shortchanged again. No street lights. There's so many different places around the city that could use street lights or widening this or that way. And it's no surprise that affordable housing is just another way to say to us, to the people, to the constituents, that we're going to make money, meaning the developers, you guys, city councilmen. And I was at an ethics meeting a little while ago, and they literally got stacks of information, of papers, of complaints where developers, with specific developers, right, their specific developers, their names, their contributions to politicians, and then specific projects where that developer then got a contract. So there's documented evidence up the wazoo. Are you gonna? Is that offensive language to you also? The wazoo? Are you gonna take the rest of my 30 seconds away because I
No,
used the word
Wazoo's
wazoo?
okay. Wazoo's all right.
Thank you. No, I should have. I can't believe I said thank you. That's another thing that I get
You're
upset
welcome.
about.
We'll have
know
a
me, I try and
dialogue
go
later.
back and
It's
forth. But
okay.
again, shortchanging on affordable housing, and this happens regularly, right? Then you can talk about the parking, right? Affordable housing has a whole different set of different laws that have to do with how much parking is allowed, how accessible is it to public transportation, etc. And I'm just tired of being shortchanged. And I think the people of the city are as well.
All right, thank you. That matter, Mr. Reyes.
Just for the record, what this allows is a greater, greater benefit for the community. You can provide more affordable housing. Widening the street at this point on 8th Street makes no sense because the rest of the block will never change. So we are maximizing opportunities. We're not shortchanging anybody. When I hear statements like that, overgeneralized statements, it really hurts the community we're serving. I just want to say that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, for the clarification. Mr. Labange, did you have a comment on
Just
this?
a quick introduction after this item.
All right. So on this matter, open the roll, please. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you. If we're going to have a welcome here in the John Farrell Chambers to Jakey Shamil, who's visiting from Israel. Give him a big hand.
Welcome to Chambers, sir. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Next item, please.
Items 13 through 15, call suggested by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks.
If we could tie 13, 14, and 15 together and have one instruction for all three reports. Colleagues, this is based on the CRA has come up with a group of real estate appraisers, also relocation services, and also property managers. Unfortunately, they're not under our local preference, and about a third of all of these lists are outside of LA County. And so we'd like to add a instruction to CRA to initiate a new RFQ after 1 year implementation of these approved contracts to expand their list of real estate appraisal service, real estate relocation service, and real estate property management services with particular emphasis on identifying companies and services located within Los Angeles County. And so at this time, when they go through this in a year, we hope that they also would have adopted the LA City local preference ordinance or their own version of it. So that would be the instruction on all three of those.
Thank you. So that'll be direction on those items without opposition. We need a vote on that?
Yes.
Open the roll. Close. Mr. Labange on this item?
Yeah, local preference is LA County. Thank you.
All right. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 16, call suggested by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks?
We got the information later.
We have a card on that, Mr. Parks. Antonio Ramirez, number 16.
Again, good morning. Your item 16 caption should read as follows. Your continued non-consideration and reckless disregard with overtly racist antics with full censorship to Mrs. Antonia Ramirez, who did not get the courtesy of being told that she was not allowed to speak on public comments before this
This
morning's...
is about animal services,
I'm getting
ma'am.
there, if you don't mind,
No,
please.
get there right now. We
I'm
don't
getting
want to
there.
talk about anything
Don't
other
be
than
rude.
this particular subject matter. It's animal services contract.
Are we going to bully Zine? Are we bullying? Like, I mean, you're
We're not
you're
bullying.
pro.
We're telling you what the
I'm
direction is on
getting
this
there.
item.
Will you allow me? I mean, I can
I'll
only
allow
do
you to
it so
speak on the
fast.
item, ma'am.
So, again, it shows that Public Safety Chair Mitchell Englander and his incompetent assistant.
No, ma'am. You know what?
Doug,
You're going to speak on the item, or you're going to be. You're concluded. Okay, you're not going to speak on the item, Mr. Ma'am. You're dismissed. Thank you. On that matter, colleagues, on that item, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 17, call special for cards.
Arnold Sachs, number 17.
Going to restart this clock. Are you going to restart this clock? Thank you. Item 17 refers to the need for public safety. And so I'm going to wonder how public safety is decided, because this is a column from the LA Times from 10/7/11, and this is regarding public safety at a different location on Temple Street, West Temple Avenue. And they happen to quote, well, they didn't quote Councilman Reyes, but they state Councilman Reyes said he doesn't have the votes on the council to change these policies. His densely populated district of working families with its many immigrants loses out to better off suburbs. This is in regard to a red light at a street crossing on West Temple where the grade climbs to 4%, and at 7:50 a.m., when the sun is in the driver's eyes, they can't see pedestrians crossing. So I'm wondering what the policy is for pedestrian safety. I've seen this before, says Felix Padilla, detective with the LAPD Central Traffic Division. Indeed, in 22 years with the Central Traffic, he's seen just about everything. 22 years. Public safety. We're moving right along. So you can't get funding for where it's needed. 3 schoolgirls got hit crossing the street. And it's numerous traffic accidents, but you can't get support here. But in the Valley, you got support. I'll bet it's going to be 11-0. Who wants to place a bet? So I'm just wondering what the policy is regarding public safety in an open and transparent city council chambers. Who knows? But here on this article, Hector Tobar, the LA Times, 10/7/11. If you want to read it, I'll give you the copy, but I guess you don't want to read it.
Thank you. There's no bets. It is illegal to bet in the city of Los Angeles. On that matter, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please.
Mr. President, that leaves item 12, which is closed session, and also the special meeting, item 19. Do you wish to take up the closed session, or go into special meeting? Recess to special meeting?
Special meeting? We'll do the special meeting.
Okay, I'll close the roll. Alarcon, Cardenas, Englander, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Weston, Zine, Garcetti, Timmer is present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Item, please.
Item 19 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right, Mr. Weezer, we have 3 cards on the matter. Trey Basquet, Jose Rodriguez, and Arnold Sachs. In that order, please.
Good morning. I'm Trey Basket. Thanks for your time. I'm with La Plaza United Methodist Church. I'm a congregant there, and I'm just one voice of many, some of whom you'll see standing behind me here. We actually are here today to say thank you. About a year ago, we started a process with the city to resolve some lease negotiations, and today that's going to come to a close and set us up for a positive relationship with the city in the future. So I want to say thank you, and that we're deeply grateful for the work put in by this council specifically and the authority you brought to the negotiations. And I'm going to thank some people specifically as well. I'm going to start with Councilmember Weezer, who brought the full weight of the 14th District to bear on this process. We thank you very much. We appreciate it. And also we appreciate Ana Cubas's extremely competent support along with you in this process. I'd like to thank Councilmember Labange and Council Members Hahn and Labange for initially seconding our motion. Councilmember Garcetti as well, who seconded a motion along the way. I want to also thank Ana Guerrero from your office and Mitch O'Farrell as well. We're also going to thank Councilmember Rosendahl, Perry. There'll be some people, I hope I don't forget, who are in our corner. Councilmember Krikorian and your Chief of Staff, Adrien, I had some conversations with him, so I appreciate your ear and his ear as well. The City Attorney's Office, City Attorney Trutanich, the El Pueblo Commission, who engaged us along the way as well. It was contentious at times, but we appreciate that. And the El Pueblo staff along the way who also engaged us with the help of Councilmember Weezer. So we're here to say thank you. All are welcome at our church, both for worship and or historical enlightenment about the history of the church. And in consideration of the congregations of the past and the stakeholders of the past, the present, and the future as well, we just want to say thank you very much. Our gratitude runs deep.
Thank you. Appreciate it. How about Jose Rodriguez? And then Arnold Sachs. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jose Rodriguez. I'm chairman of the Council of La Plaza United Methodist Church. We are a historic congregation. I want to remind you that Methodists have been on the plaza since 1854, and our church in particular has been in ministry there for about 112 years, since about 1899. We are happy that this council has chosen to appreciate and stand up for history and the historical part of Los Angeles and our part in there. I too want to thank the council, especially the Councilman Huizar of the 14th District, and with particular thank you to Ana for her work and getting us to this point. We are grateful that we've been through this process, and we feel that we will be working together in the future, especially as we move forward. Especially with our museum that we're in the process of setting up as part of the agreement. Before I sit down, Bishop Mary Ann Swinson has appointed a new pastor to our church. This is Emilio Mueller. Hopefully in the future you'll have a chance to meet with him. He comes to us as of the 1st of November of this year, and he is our new pastor. Thank you.
Thank you for all your help.
You're welcome. And Mr. Sachs, our final speaker.
Yes, thank you very much, Arnold Sachs. Just very quickly, based on another agreement that was non-binding, that was with the stadium debacle that's going to go on downtown. Is this a non-binding MOU, non-binding agreement, or this is a binding MOU, binding agreement? Just out of curiosity.
Mr.
By the
Huizar.
way, the supporters should start counting their silverware counciled as an agreement.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Huizar.
It doesn't conflict with what their moral convictions. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you all for coming out again today. I think what we have before us today is a collaboration of many people to finally get to a point where we could say that we are preserving not only the existence of the Methodist Church at Placita Olvera, but also the services that you've been providing to our community for over 100 years. I too have a lot of people to thank. I want to thank, there's so many people to thank from the church. The leaders that I have listed here, Byron Hayes, Leonora Baron, Cedric Bridgeforth, and Jennifer Gutierrez. I also want to thank the Mayor's Office, Chris Espinosa, and the City Attorney's Office, Dov Lascelles, Peter Chavarria, Annette Bonga, and William Carter. These are all people that put a lot of hours into coming up with a solution we have before us today. And again, I think since the initial time that the Methodist Church has been coming to council and expressing their desire to remain at Placita Olvera, I think the support was here, but we had to get through some hurdles. We had to get through the church and state separation issue. But I think we came up with something that withstands any legal challenge, and we came up with a solution that allows you to continue to be there and provide the services you've been providing to this great city. I think we've done a lot in El Pueblo with the merchant leases and now the Methodist Church, and we have much work to do on the nonprofits that exist there. But I think if we could get through the Methodist Church lease, I think we could get through the remaining that are there. I also want to say that although you were tough negotiators, it was just a pleasure to meet with all of you. I met so many great people from the church, and it shows that the Christianity, it shows the warmth that you all have. But when it came time to negotiate, you put your game face on, which worked. But I think we came with a great solution. And colleagues, before we vote on this, I was asked to make an amendment that the final action should read, affirm the action of the El Pueblo Commission and note and file the November 16, 2011 General Manager Report, and that the effective date of the lease is today, November 18, 2011. If we could amend the final action to have that so stated. Thank you again, and I look forward to continue to be part of your community, which I was introduced to and welcome to, and you have a tremendous history that you've had here, and we want to make sure you continue that. And thank you for all you've done for the city of LA.
Mr. Labange, followed by Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer, on your leadership. Thank you for the church and the leaders. Good luck tomorrow night against Oregon.
Mr. Rosendahl.
History, SC was a Methodist institution before they started. And in the honor of the late, great John Ferraro,
Thank you, Mr.
wanted to throw it out
Labange. Mr. Rosendahl, you have the floor.
Yeah. I just want to say that I found it as really a no-brainer. It is a very sacred spot and a historic spot, and it is extremely powerful. And when you had the Reverend James Lawson, who is like, you know, we go way back, and say the things he said, I didn't need any more authenticity than him. And other people that I knew also who came in and filled the chambers. So God bless you for staying strong. And thank you, Mr. Weezer, for your leadership on this. Thank you.
Mr. Reyes.
You know, in the history books, if you look at the Chicano movement, you look at the leadership from the Mexican American community, the Methodist Church pops up over and over again. The sanctuary movement, on and on. And for all those people that you've been able to inspire, protect, and basically just address their civil rights, I just want to rise and say thank you so much for your role throughout the history of this city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That matter is now before us. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Very well. Congratulations. Next item, please.
Mr. President, do you wish to adjourn the special meeting and return to the special at this time?
Yes.
Mr. President, I would take 12, which is closed session.
All right, closed session. Then we are going to go into closed session. If you're not here for closed session, we need to clear the chambers.
No cards.
And we will now go into closed session. If you're not here for this matter, you need to leave the chambers. Thank you.
Property theft has spiked in the area the past year due to easy access for thieves. Almost 80% of car theft occurs because of unlocked doors. Locking your doors takes a matter of seconds and can become so routine that you may forget whether you locked your doors or not. But it's worth the effort to double check. The more successful thieves are at taking items out of a car, the more chances they are going to come back to that area. Don't let our town be that area. One simple precaution is to hide or cover any valuable items when leaving your car unattended. Simple actions like these can prevent you from becoming a victim of property theft. The Los Angeles Police Department would like you to remember, lock it or lose it.
investigating a series of bizarre and disturbing attacks that have left children in cities from coast to coast injured and fearing for their safety. As Global's Anna Gabauer tells us, the young victims were targeted simply because of the color of their hair.
They better, and while we begin with an Eyewitness News exclusive disturbing video of a gay man being beaten in Queens.
The individual was attacked simply for his orientation, and we're just not going to tolerate it.
The word hate is just unexcusable. It's a word that shouldn't be used, and to hate somebody for the color of their skin is just not right.
It creates fear among all of the community members.
I think it's wrong how people discriminate against others just because of the way they prefer people, as in gays or just their skin color. It's wrong, and something needs to be done. A hate crime is any criminal act directed against a person based on the victim's actual or perceived nationality, religion, sexual orientation, disability, gender, and especially race. Examples of hate crimes include acts which result in injury even if the injury is slight, threats of violence that look like they can be carried out, acts which result in property damage, any criminal act or attempted criminal act, including property damage directed against public or private agencies.
The suspect can spend up to 1 year in jail, and if it's a felony, it could either be between 2 and 4 years for a prison sentence.
If you believe a hate crime has occurred or will occur, you are very much encouraged to contact the Los Angeles Police Department or the We Tip hotline. Public cooperation is often essential in solving hate crimes. We Tip hotline, 909-987-5005.
Welcome back into open session. We'll take a vote on our closed session item now. Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, on item 12, Council approved the proposed stipulation of settlement in the titled case entitled Lilith Chakalian versus the City of Los Angeles class action lawsuit seeking the reimbursement of solid resource fee mischarges and overcharges collected since October 2007. The total amount of refunds are not to exceed $6 million. They authorized the Bureau of Sanitation to process the refunds in the form of credits for those class members who are still Department of Water and Power customers. These credits will result in a reduction in the remittance to Bureau of Sanitation Department Revenue Source Code 442101, and authorize the Bureau of Sanitation to provide by check for those class members who are not still DWP customers, issued from Bureau of Sanitation account number 50HX82, Fund 508.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney.
And those conditions are subject to court approval.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That settlement is approved. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There's an excuse on the desk. Councilmember Garcetti requests to leave at 1 p.m. on November 29th for city business. A motion is required.
Mr. Zine moves, and that excuse is granted.
That clears the desk.
Any announcements, colleagues? Mr. Rosendahl, and then Mr. LeBon?
Yeah, we all need to be well and healthy, and if we take tips that we can learn from people who really understand ways in which we can do it is a good thing. So I want you to know that today, the 18th, from 10 to 4, and Saturday, the 19th, from 10 to 1, at the LAX Westin Hotel at 5400 West Century Boulevard, the Delray-based Wellness Center will be hosting a health and wellness forum, highlighting the importance of healthier lifestyles, building a network of organizations to promote healthier communities, and exploring the role of integrative medicine and promoting healthier Los Angeles. I'm actually going to go there at 2:30 this afternoon, try to keep healthier as a 66-year-old. If anybody's interested in this, please go. You'll find it extremely enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge.
And if you don't go there, take a hike in your neighborhood, take a walk around your block, good exercise. Mr. Rosendahl, last Friday was very important. You're the man. Let's recognize our veteran from the United States Army, Bill Rosendahl. We forgot to, last week was Veterans Day, and all our veterans, we were out at Forest Lawn. Our very own president of the city council, Mr. Garcetti, and his fine whites of the United States Navy.
Dress blues.
Dress blues. Gave wonderful remarks as well. Remember the veterans.
Thank you. And we missed a birthday as well when we were out of session. Mr. Wesson celebrated a birthday. Wish him a very happy birthday. And yes.
He joined the club, and people who are 60 years old and above join a special club. And he's now part of that special club. So
very special. All sorts of good discounts. Speaking of, Mr. Parks, you have some announcements?
Thank you very much. Just like to invite the public to the 8th District's, their first redistricting meeting will be tonight. At 6 p.m. at the Constituent Center at 8475 South Vermont. Also, as we move forward to the holiday season, the 8th District is sponsoring a toy drive at both of their field offices on Vermont and also Crenshaw, 3847 Crenshaw. And then also, in behalf of one of our major church facilities, New Bethel Apostolic Church, they're having their annual harvest feast on November the 19th at 12 p.m., and that's at their church at 1735 West Martin Luther King Drive.
Thank you. Other announcements, Mr. Krikorian, and then Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I've left one of these on each of your desks. This is an announcement of the Los Angeles Student Media Festival, which will be taking place March 10th, 2012, in the beautiful and historic El Portal Theater in Mr. LaBonge's district in the NoHo Arts District. This is the only high school film festival in all of Los Angeles. It's something that I created when I was in the Assembly and I'm continuing now. So I'd really urge you all to reach out to the schools in your district. We can provide press packets for you and whatever other information you need to reach out to your high school students in your district and urge them to submit their film works by January 20th. January 20th is the deadline for submission. It was a great success last year. We had over 100 student films submitted. This year we expect it to be even bigger and better, and so I'd like to invite you all to plan on attending on March 10th, but in the meantime, please urge your high school students to participate. It's a great opportunity for them to showcase their talents.
Thank you,
the Orange Line. Great location, El Portal.
Thank you. Mr. Koretz and then Mr. Reyes.
Yes, I have a long and short announcement. The short announcement, in recognition of what is becoming Bill Rosendahl Awareness Day, I'd like to thank Bill and the rest of my colleagues for their work in opposing the closure of the adult day health cares, and at least temporary good news, the plan for a December 1st closure, there's been a settlement and that is at least temporarily postponed. So that's very good news for the city and the rest of the state.
Mr. Rosendahl? Comment real quickly. Mr. Krikorian and I have been talking about it as well most recently, but this morning when we got a message from the Department of Aging that it doesn't completely help us, I'm asking them to come back and explain exactly where we're at, because to do anything to affect adult daycare needs is absolutely outrageous, and for God's sake, if we can't do that much with our great country, there's nothing I would rather see done. So thanks everybody, but we do need to have her explain where we're at, and if we can fight even more if we need to.
Exactly, but at least we've dodged the bullet for now, so those who have been holding their breath for a December 1st closure, that's not happening.
That's right.
A second announcement, the state of California has been proposing closure of a number of state parks. One notable state park that is up for closure that I've been notified by my state senator, Fran Pavley, about is the Los Encinos Historic Park. Los Encinos is a historic treasure, and it is part of the history of the San Fernando Valley, and it focuses on an area that was the hub of human activity for hundreds of years. It also has a number of historic buildings which will be exposed to vandalism and graffiti if it's closed. And so I introduced a resolution today to oppose its closure, and there is a public community meeting today taking place in Los Encinos Park at 2:30. Fran Pavley will be there. I will be there. Anyone else who has an interest in this is encouraged to join us. Encino Neighborhood Council and Homeowners Association representatives will also be there. So if there are council members, particularly that represent the Valley, that would like to join us, I think this is an important meeting and an important property to save from closure.
Thank you. Other announcements? Mr. Reyes.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to amplify the great day today over at in District 1. It's the third high school we opened up at the ribbon cutting ceremony. We're joined by Councilmember Garcetti in celebrating this great day. It's in the Cypress Park area, Taylor Yards, and it's a high school that the community's been waiting for many, many years. Result of community planning that starts back in the early 90s, and it's a great day to have this type of education facilities for our children, especially in the overcrowded areas of Northeast. So thank you. It's Sonia Sotomayor, the first Latina Supreme Court Justice in this country.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's great to see you there. Congratulations, especially on the River Pilot School there, Mr. Reyes. With that, do we have any adjourning motions, colleagues? We have an adjourning motion from Mr. Labange. If I can ask everybody to please rise.
Thank you very much. I ask for adjourning member of Carl Stover as one of the last remaining Munchkins. Eric Garcetti and I met in 2007 up on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where they got their own star with the late, great Johnny Grant. He performed in The Wizard of Oz and was much loved, and he was survived by many family and friends. Carl Stover. And also, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Andy Shishelsky, who was a great graduate of John Marshall High, went on to play football at the University of Santa Barbara when they did have football. We coached together at John Marshall High School for many years. He was a Los Angeles Unified teacher. Tragically, cancer claimed his life. He's going to be missed by many family and friends. Andy Shishelsky.
Thank you very much. Any other adjourning motions, Mr. Reyes?
I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Ramon J. Valdez, a World War II veteran and beloved family man, passed away on Sunday, November 6th. He was 86. Born in San Antonio, Texas, on November 2nd, 1925. Ramon lived a life of service and honor, having served in the U.S. Navy fighting in the Pacific. Ramon developed a strong work ethic at an early age. His commitment to family education has echoed through the decades the lives of his children and fellow remaining family members. After living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Saginaw, Michigan for 25 years, he retired from Ladish Company, an aerospace and defense company, and moved back to San Antonio, beginning his legacy through family, community with friends at St. Benedict's La Unión Fraterno Latino Americano and the Knights of Columbus. He's also a lifelong aficionado of conjunto, a genre of music popular among the Mexican-American community. Ramon is survived by wife Adelina A. Valdez. Survivors include his children, Abelardo Valdez, Viviana A. Sandoval, and Ramon Valdez, 6 grandchildren, Gabriela Flores, Rebecca Valdez Quesada, who is the person who manages our planning committee in Plum, Nicolas Valdez, Selena M. Sandoval, Yana Valdez, Joaquin Valdez, 4 great-grandchildren, Azucena, Sofia Flores, Ismael Flores, Lorenzo Flores, and many nieces and nephews, and his sister Tomasa Valdez Kiefer. May he rest in peace.
Thank you. Mr. Kretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that you join me this afternoon, in adjourning in the memory of Ted Canner, who died on Monday following many years of painful incapacitation. Ted was appointed the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles' Associate Executive Director in 1973. In 1978, he was named Executive Vice President, a position he held until 1986. He established the Council on Jewish Life and served as an interim director for the School of Communal Service at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. Mr. Canner often wrote for the Journal of Jewish Communal Service and was a featured speaker at the Conference of Jewish Communal Service. While traveling in Brazil as a consultant for the American Joint Distributing Committee in 1991 to conduct a training seminar for their employees in Rio de Janeiro, he was involved in a serious accident that would unfortunately shape his remaining years. Canner is survived by his wife Annette and their sons Alan and Marty, as well as 5 grandchildren. Funeral services will be held today at 2 p.m. at the Mount Sinai Memorial Park, Hollywood Hills. May you rest in peace.
Thank you. Second that from Mr. Rosendahl. Any other adjourning motions? Not, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, yes, Mr. Parks?
Not a adjourning motion, but I just got an email. Ms. Perry asked for a excuse on Wednesday, and I don't think it was covered before we adjourn.
Okay, we can take that up on Tuesday if need be. I don't know if we've had a formal. Okay, or the city clerk. We'll take care of it on Tuesday. Okay, we should be able to. Okay, please call the roll. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned, and we'll be next in session on Tuesday, November 22nd. Have a good, safe weekend. We'll see you then. Courage.